Chapter 101. God King Odin, welcome. Ron nodded and greeted the visitor. Odin glanced at Loki with a complicated expression. They were all flesh wounds, and they were all caused by Loki himself. Odin could tell at a glance that it wouldn't take long for Loki to recover once he regained consciousness. Ron has already given him enough face, and he doesn't plead much. He couldn't open his mouth, ahem, so he could only use his old father's kindness to make Ron soften his heart. Ron rolled his eyes in his heart. This old man must have acted for him on purpose. If you have something to talk about, let's talk it over first. Thor asked me to lock Loki here. Are you sure you let him go? When Loki wakes up, he will be hit hard. Anyway, Loki must not be in a very good mood. In this situation, he can't beat Ron. And I heard that Thor asked Ron not to let him go. Well, the result can be imagined. Loki is now level godfather regardless of his strength, but his realm is already level single universe. Give him some time and his strength will gradually increase. Odin, he was silent. How to choose between the two sons? Either one would suffer or the other would be robbed. Whichever choice was inappropriate. Forget it. Loki is like this anyway, so let's just stay like this. Ahem. Odin coughed dryly. Well, don't tell Loki that I've been here. No, tell Loki that I've been here and begged for him, but he went too far, I said. Mr. Luo, please don't forget it. In addition, Frigga said that if you have time, you are welcome to visit Asgard. Going to Asgard as a guest? Ron nodded, okay. Although he has no idea about other places in Asgard compared to Odin's treasure house, the queen still has to give her face. Wait, why are you here? Odin was suddenly startled, and suddenly remembered that the main thing this time was not to plead for Loki, but to blame Frigga for leading him astray. He quickly straightened his expression, looked at Ron and asked. Speaking of which, I came to see you this time for something indeed. The Ancient One magician told me that the origin of the world suddenly increased, causing her to be unable to see through the timeline now. Even if you use time gem, it won't work. The origin of the world suddenly increased? Why ask him? How did he know? Wait. Isn't it because of the decomposer? The decomposition machine decomposed the mind gem. The mind gem did not disappear, it just existed in another form, so it should have nothing to do with Loki. However, he received 10 times the reward that Loki received. Is it possible that these 10 times are counted in this world? Ron suddenly fell into deep thought, and he couldn't figure it out for a while. As a time traveler, no matter how strong you become, it shouldn't affect the origin of this world, right? Is it possible that you include yourself? Apart from this, Ron couldn't think of anything else. There couldn't be a second time traveler, just to strengthen the origin of the world. Just kidding, he is so handsome, he must be the protagonist. In other words, the increase in the source is related to him. The 10 times source of spiritual power leads to the enhancement of the world. As a result, various barriers in the world have become thicker, which is equivalent to what used to be just a gauze, like the Ancient One, where you can come in and out as you want. But it doesn't work anymore, the holes in the gauze have been patched up. Not only was it patched up, it was also thickened. Ron suddenly realized, no wonder, the Ancient One could cross the timeline at will just by borrowing the power of Time Gem. You can even check out other multi-universes. As it turned out, even if the effects of infinite gems were different, how could 10 of them be inferior to 1? That's what happened. In this way, when someone decomposes the reality gem, he will gain 10 times the energy of the reality gem. Wouldn't it cause the origin of the universe to be strengthened again? So when can he invade other universes? You know, there are only 6 infinite gems, but that's 6 in one universe. There are many other universes. If he can't invade other universes, how can he absorb the power of those gems? Even if he wants to wait for invasion from other universes, the world has been strengthened and he has trouble getting out, and those who want to invade can't get in. By the way, is it okay for you to cheat on your brother like this? Tony looked at Thor in the air on the way to the Chitauri mothership and asked. Thor looked innocent and surprised, why did you trick my brother? What else are you going to say? Tony raised his eyebrows. Is there anyone more shameless than me? I said you tricked Loki and made him a puppet in Ron's shop. What doll? Don't talk nonsense. Thor retorted righteously. That's because Loki did something wrong. I gave him a chance to correct it. He disassembled the equipment and went to find trouble with Ron. Although I don't know what happened, the punishment is still there for 2 days. It is obviously much more serious than the last time. He had heard about what happened last time. When Loki went to the store, he made Ron kneel down and took away the decomposer. What is the difference between this and running to his father and asking him to kneel down and offer the eternal spear? A slap in the face. Loki is still alive, it's just a small punishment, Ron is already kind enough. Anyway, my father didn't say anything, so it wasn't his turn to take care of it. It's all because Loki is so naughty and needs to be disciplined. Tony was stunned. Last time, what happened last time? Thor looked at him, I don't know. Last time he... As Thor spoke, Tony couldn't help but clicked his tongue, shook his head and sighed. Your brother, Jian Nyazeo, is really a hero, he dares to offend anyone who is stronger than him. Although he is not afraid, it is not his style to come to the door for no reason and cause trouble. Unless the other party is a girl, but he just spends a lot of money to watch the sunrise with the girl. Although it occasionally happened to ask the other party to kneel down, it was all voluntary and he never forced it. It can only be said that Loki has lived in vain for more than 1,000 years, and he has not yet seen everything clearly. If Loki knew what he was thinking, he would definitely scold him. Do you have a brother? Do you know what it feels like to play with a brother? Do you know what it feels like to have a brother? No, you don't know anything. Because you don't have a brother. All I can say is that after more than 1,000 years, I haven't had enough fun, and I still want to play. Playing with Thor may be the greatest joy in Loki's life. What kind of woman or goddess? They all stood aside and affected his ability to cast magic. Chapter 102. While chatting, the two walked through the space passage side by side. As soon as he walked through it, Tony clearly noticed something was wrong. J.A.R.V.I.S. Detect cosmic radiation, retrieve star maps, and compare where this is. Sir, after the detection, the cosmic radiation is slightly lower than that of the solar system. According to the star map comparison, no similar fixed star was found. After hearing J.A.R.V.I.S.'s answer, Tony looked back at Earth. Well, the Earth is still there, so how far is this space channel? No one can answer him. No, someone can know, such as Odin, but I guess Odin is too lazy to answer this question for him. While letting J.A.R.V.I.S record the galaxy coordinates, it flew towards the Chitauri mothership. As he approached the mothership, Tony finally saw how big the mothership was. A mothership is larger than most countries on Earth. No wonder it can transport hundreds of thousands of Chitauri soldiers. He looked at Thor. How did you capture this mothership? Thor scratched his head. How to capture it? Just break the defensive shield with a hammer, then hammer open the door, rush in and discharge the electricity. Tony, you know, asking this guy is a waste of time. This answer, how should I put it? There is no technique, it is all strength. Just rely on 187 hard power. If you don't have this power, don't touch it. Entering the mothership along the passage, Tony was stunned for a moment when he saw that the inside was clean. It was very different from what he imagined, with Chitauri corpses everywhere. Are there no Chitauri soldiers on the mothership? Why can't you see any of them? Are they all gone? Thor smiled and explained, oh, I asked Heimdall to send Asgard soldiers over and take over the mothership. The Chitauri soldiers were all knocked unconscious by me, and they are now being held in prison in the mothership. Get ready to test and see which one can provide equipment. Those who can provide equipment will stay, and those who cannot, let the soldiers from the god's domain take them to the planets in the 9 realms, so that they can make the best use of them and transform them through labor. Although most of the Chitauri soldiers are semi-mechanical life forms, their will and thinking are all controlled by the mothership. But there are still a few people with free will. Being able to run around in the universe without being killed by anyone means you have some strength. Thor doesn't mind having too much equipment, because he can't give any extra to the warriors of God's domain. So after he captured the mothership, he directly contacted Heimdall and asked the other party to send a group of soldiers over to take over the mothership. Thor's words made Tony look envious. It's different when you have a backstage. When you win a battle, there are people who clean up the battlefield. There are also people who help guard the prisoners and provide equipment. Fortunately, he invested in Frank and the others, and also got the right to distribute equipment for vampires and werewolves. Otherwise, you can only look at it and not be able to eat it because it makes you feel uncomfortable. Even if he can build a battle armor, it will take time and money. If you fight and decompose one armor, it can decompose tens of billions of pieces in half a year. Even if his name is Tony Stark, he will feel bad. He did nothing every month, just sitting and waiting for someone with dozens of green clothes. At the moment, he saw that the whole Asgard was helping Thor. For the first time, he, a rich man, felt envious. As he spoke, Thor led Tony all the way to the core of the mothership. I met a lot of Asgard warrior guards on the way, and the entire mothership is now under Asgard guard. This is the trophy of their eldest prince Thor, the Japanese space carrier. Every warrior who looked at Thor and the two passing by had their faces filled with admiration and pride. As they arrived at the core pilot house of the mothership, Thor looked at Tony. This is the core of the mothership. Is there anything you want to study? Do you need me to ask someone to help you? Tony looked at the structure of the mothership, then connected it to the mothership terminal and asked J.A.R.V.I.S to detect it. JARVIS. Are there any difficulties? Can you copy all the structures of the mothership? After a while, J.A.R.V.I.S voice sounded, Sir, it can be tested, Jada, but it will take a while. Okay. Tony nodded and looked at Thor. No need Thor, I think I can do it myself. As expected of him, the artificial intelligence he created is so powerful that it can break through alien motherships. After all, in this regard, he is the first person on Earth. His temper has calmed down a lot, but he still can't help but be arrogant at this time. Hearing this, Thor didn't say anything more, just nodded and waited aside. By the way, he called a soldier, how is the equipment I want prepared? How long will it take? The soldier replied respectfully, Prince Thor, most of the equipment has been sorted out and you can take it away tomorrow. Thor nodded, okay. He can finally improve his strength. After this improvement, even if he is not as good as Loki, he will not be pushed too far. Anyway, when facing Loki, it's enough that he doesn't have the slightest ability to fight back. Level Godfather, the decomposition machine has reached level Godfather. He never dared to think about this before. Level Godfather has surpassed Heimdall, and is as strong as his mother. When Thor thought that he would soon reach level Godfather, he felt excited in his heart. He looked around the mothership. Unfortunately, the pink equipment was too big. Not to mention that the decomposer cannot decompose it, the area is larger than New York, and even landing in New York is difficult. Not to mention taking it to a dismantling shop. If Ron could bring out the decomposer, He suddenly thought of something. Didn't Ron verbally agree that Tony could buy the decomposer? Since I can buy it, can I take it away? In other words, he still has a way to dismantle the mothership. Thinking of this, Thor became even more excited. He was reluctant to dismantle the pink level Meow hammer, but he would not be reluctant to part with the mothership. He decided to wait for Tony to finish his research and stop by the dismantling shop to ask. At the moment, in the decomposition shop, the topic between Odin and Ron had changed. Regarding the origin, Odin saw that Ron didn't want to go into details, and guessed that it might be because of Ron, so he didn't ask any more questions. Now, the issue the two are discussing is the residence of his eldest daughter, Hela, the goddess of death. He has been suppressing Helheim where Hela is, which puts a lot of pressure on his body. Since there is someone here who makes fun of his daughter every day, he doesn't mind at all if the show is fake. For no reason, a strong man like Ron was made a generation younger than him. In the end, didn't he gain blood? So, Odin, Ron, I think it would be good for Hela to live with you in the store. Frigga and I have no objections. Chapter 103. You don't have any opinion, have you asked me? You've already traveled through time, how come you still feel like you're on a blind date? Even gods and kings are bound by vulgarity. The end of the universe is blind date? Odin, asking for your opinion? What is your opinion? Damn fake. My eldest daughter who is thousands of years old is giving it to you for free. What else do you think? The three eyes faced each other, and the two stared at each other for a long time. Ron touched his nose and said, well, now we are all about free love and don't advocate parents arranging everything. Besides, I haven't met your daughter yet. If I agree, she may not agree. It's obviously not obvious. If she makes a fuss inside, why can't I hit her? Fight. Odin took over and said in an unceremonious tone. Hit me hard. After he finished speaking, a trace of regret flashed in his eyes, and he seemed to see Hela who called him father thousands of years ago. When she was young, she fought with me everywhere and made countless achievements. You know, we Asgard believe in bravery. At that time, she was the pride of the entire Asgard. Much more prestige than Thor's now. At that time, I was focused on conquering the 9 realms, so I didn't take it seriously. Therefore, I didn't notice that her mental state was wrong. She used the killings I caused when I conquered the 9 realms as a means to shock people. And I firmly believe that as long as all those who disobey are killed and all the creatures in the 9 realms are killed, there will be no more riots. And she did exactly that. By the time I found out, it was already too late. Not only could I not change her mind, she couldn't even listen to what Frigga and I said. In desperation, I had no choice but to imprison her in Helheim and use Helheim to suppress her. You are still trying to dissuade you from changing your mind, but you have no choice but to leave it here to sensationalize it. Ron didn't pick him up, but gave him a disdainful look and said contemptuously. After all that, it's not you, the father, who has the problem. Odin subconsciously retorted, what's my problem? What problem do you have? Ron glared at him, you let a girl go to the battlefield and let her lead the troops to kill people. This is not your problem. Whose problem is it? Odin glared, she is the daughter of the God King, so she should be famous in the 9 realms and show the prestige of Asgard. Ron glared back, Asgard has been reduced to a woman to help show off its reputation, so let's just destroy it. Have you ever seen any emperor's daughter on earth go to war? Odin retorted, she is a god, and she is the daughter of a god king. How can mortals compare with gods? Gods with better backgrounds have greater potential and stronger strength. Even if a mortal is the daughter of an emperor, she is still a mortal when she is born. She will be injured if she knocks her, and die if she cuts her. Frigga was also a shining star on the battlefield when she was young, even more powerful than Sif is now, why can't she? Ron asked sarcastically, so, Hela is still the pride of your heart. The little old man Odin raised his head, that's definitely. Ron stared at him, so, if Hela doesn't become full of murderous intentions, can your position of God King be passed on to her? Odin Ron raised his eyebrows, why don't you say anything? Is the title of God King passed on? Odin. Pass it on. Pass it on. The position of God King can only be inherited by men. His grandfather Bree, his father Bor, his Odin, and then his son Thor, this is destined. How could it be passed on to Hela? No matter how good Hela is. Ron saw through his mind at a glance, spread out his hands and shrugged. At the moment, in New York City, on Saint Intersection, large trucks were lined up and slowly drove towards the decomposition shop. Especially the truck at the front was extremely huge, and inside it was a slimy green abomination. It looked like this car was specially built for him. At the moment, Hatred was giving instructions to the disabled soldier captain beside him. When we get to the place, you can do whatever I ask you to do. If there are more, don't ask, did you hear me? Sir, don't worry. The captain's expression was solemn. He was not a fool, and he could see a lot from his hateful expression. Even the powerful Hatred is so serious, you can imagine what you are facing. Please give me flowers. Hatred nodded, okay, tell me to go down and follow the instructions later. After saying that, a flash of violence flashed in his eyes, if someone disobeys the command and deliberately causes trouble, I will kill him personally. The captain broke into a cold sweat and nodded hurriedly, received. Sir, please rest assured. After saying that, he picked up the walkie-talkie and started to contact his subordinates in the car behind him. Hatred put away the murderous intention in his heart, and the fear of the dismantling shop emerged. Sensing his emotional turmoil, I couldn't help but asked, who is it that makes you so afraid, boss? Riot was very confused, he saw the strength of Abomination, and recently the strength of Abomination has improved a lot. According to Abomination, he is now at the galaxy level. Coupled with the increase in riots, he is almost at the peak of the galaxy level. Even though the guy who was discharging electricity everywhere that day was so strong, he didn't make Abomination feel so afraid, but he was extremely afraid. Although he can't be beaten either, fear and jealousy are two different things. I'm worried that I might catch up with you. Although I can't defeat you, I'm not afraid of you either. But fear. In other words, when the fear reaches the extreme, when facing this person, it is despair without even the desire to take action. There is no resistance at all. The Tuanhui is like this. Is there such a strong person on this planet? A red light flashed in Abomination's body, immediately startling Riot. He didn't act like a monster, so why did he suddenly warn him and still use such an extreme method? At this time, I heard Hatred say sternly, "You will be more honest with me later. There are many ways to become stronger, I don't have to ask you to do it. If you talk nonsense and make that adult unhappy, I will kill you on the spot." Realizing that Hatred was really not trying to scare him this time, Riot immediately calmed down a lot. But as a guy who harvests planets everywhere in the universe, how can he really put his mind aside? Instead, he was waiting to see who it was, and if possible make a mark. When the time comes, when the tribe comes, find an opportunity to parasitize him. Anyone who can be parasitic and hateful will be afraid of him. As a leader, it's not like he can't be used to do it. Chapter 104. Within 2 days of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury directly gave S.H.I.E.L.D. a bloodbath. With all the extraordinary beings gathered together, he paid the price and invited them to take action. More than 90% of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s agents were arrested. Place them one by one in front of Professor X and ask him to help test them. Professor He immediately thought of Magneto. In order to help Magneto, and he also disliked these guys in the shadows, I agreed to Nick Fury's request. With the help of Professor X, Nick Fury was overjoyed. Then action started immediately. I don't know what the result will be, and I will be shocked when I take the test. Why is there only 1/3 Hydra? Then it is S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and only 1/3 of 480 is left. Not even a third, because so many people have been contacted by Hydra agents. There is a vague idea of joining the other party, but it is not confirmed yet. If he hadn't taken action in time, I'm afraid at least half of the remaining 1/3 would have defected to Hydra. Seeing this result, Nick Fury's face turned even darker. Steve's expression was even more ugly. Howard was his old friend, and Paige was his first love. They tried their best to destroy Hydra, but now the two founders of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually allowed Hydra to sneak in so much without making any noise. This has simply become a breeding ground for Hydra, allowing Hydra to thrive without any scruples under the cover of S.H.I.E.L.D. Fortunately, in this era, he is not fighting alone, but also has a group of comrades. And each of these comrades is not simple, they are stronger than him. This is also the main reason why he did not have a direct attack. If Hydra had become unstoppable because of S.H.I.E.L.D., he would have punched Nick Fury down by now. Frank directly mocked you unceremoniously. Fortunately, I didn't agree to it at the beginning. If you join now, I don't know who will be in charge. A bunch of Hydra commanding me, FK. Thinking of this situation, I want to kill. Everyone present probably grew up listening to the story of Captain America. They don't have a good impression of Hydra, and with their strength, they don't look down on a shady organization like Hydra. At the moment, everyone had a gloomy look on their faces and had no favorable impressions of SHIELD. No, this is Snake and Shield. And according to the information asked, it's not just SHIELD. There are many Hydra bases around the world, all of which are growing rapidly under the cover of SHIELD. Professor, when they took action, Pierce saw that his men could not stop the extraordinary people, so he shot himself directly. But even though Pierce is gone, a lot of information has been gained from other people. Among them, the Malik family was directly exposed to their sight. It's just that for the time being, we only know that some people in this family are related to Hydra, but we can't determine who they are yet. In addition, the Malik family is powerful, otherwise Nick Fury would have been arrested directly now. Seeing that the matter was over, Frank waved his hand. Okay, now that the matter is over, it's time for us to withdraw. There's so much equipment still waiting to be decomposed. Thinking of the mountains of equipment, Frank felt itchy all over. If you don't break it down quickly and turn it into your own strength, you will feel uncomfortable from the inside out. I really don't know what kind of strength he can achieve if everything is broken down. Looking forward to it. The more he thought about it, the more impatient he became. Upon hearing what Frank said, Professor X and other mutants also had a flash of fire in their eyes. The opportunity for the entire tribe to become stronger is right in front of them. It is not easy for them to be able to resist helping Nick Fury for 2 days. This is definitely not for Nick Fury's sake, but for Carol's sake. Although Carol didn't show up, Apocalypse, who was knocked unconscious by her kick, is here. Apocalypse's strength is obvious to all. At least Professor X and other mutants don't think they are Apocalypse's opponents. One can imagine how strong Carol is. Nick Fury also knew this and immediately promised. I'll leave it to you this time. Don't worry, I will definitely do what I promised. Looking at the backs of the leaving group, Nick Fury withdrew his gaze. Then the eyes fell on Captain America, Natasha Romanoff, and others. Things inside S.H.I.E.L.D. are over, but there are still many enemies waiting for us outside. Now, all the equipment of S.H.I.E.L.D. is tilted towards you. It's up to you to save the world, and destroy Hydra. Nick Fury was about to say save the world, but when he thought of Ron, Ancient One, and Gong. When he thought of the extraordinary beings that were springing up like mushrooms under the decomposition machine, he couldn't say these words. Looking toward the gaping hole in the sky over Manhattan. S.H.I.E.L.D. has not ended, and will take this opportunity to return to that world-class organization, not a level universe organization. He, Nick Fury, S.H.I.E.L.D. Director, will lead S.H.I.E.L.D. into the universe and maintain the peace of the universe. Before that, we must first cultivate a strong person unique to S.H.I.E.L.D. And people like Natasha Romanoff, Captain America, Barton, and Phil Coulson who are loyal to S.H.I.E.L.D. are what he needs. At least some people must be able to stand alone, not to mention like Carol, but at least have the strength of Thor. Only this can qualify to become another organization in the level universe. As for himself, there is no rush. When they are all 5.6 powerful and go into the universe, will they still lack the equipment to strengthen him? Natasha Romanoff exits Nick Fury's office. After going through so many things, even if he wants to improve his strength, there is no trace of joy on his face. As soon as I went out, I saw Phil Coulson walking in a hurry. He said hello to several people and walked into the office without even bothering to make out with his idol, Captain America. Phil Coulson. Nick Fury looked at his confidant with one eye. Not to mention anything else, after this bloodbath of S.H.I.E.L.D., his subordinates feel more at ease when using it, and he will not be so suspicious of everyone. Cole handed him a tablet with a video playing on it. What is playing above is the hatred and veterans with defective bodies. Chapter 105. What is he going to do? Disassemble the equipment to strengthen these soldiers. Nick Fury's single eye flashed with doubt. In the video, Hatred asked disabled soldiers to transport equipment, and there were only disabled soldiers. The only one who was intact was himself. You can't hate the discovery of conscience, take special care of disabled soldiers, and let the soldiers rehabilitate, right? There are definitely people like this in the world, even S.H.I.E.L.D. are doing this kind of thing. But it's definitely not hatred. He knows better than anyone the violence in hatred. It came from the Hulk, but it did not gain the Hulk's anger, but instead amplified the evil in his heart. In the heart of hatred, there is only fear of power, no trust. Without the absolute power to suppress hatred, even Nick Fury dare not use him. Would such a person do such a thing that would benefit the public? It's like the sky is falling, well, it's even more incredible than the sky actually falling. Therefore, 29 in his opinion, there is only this one possibility that seems impossible at all. Facing Nick Fury's doubtful gaze, Phil Coulson shook his head. Not sure, but I think the same thing as you, boss. Unless he wants to strengthen the soldiers, it is impossible for all disabled soldiers to escort the equipment. But I don't know why he did it. Abomination admires power even more than they do. He doesn't use it for himself but gives it to disabled soldiers? Since Ron appeared, everyone has their own secrets and no longer want to be the same as before, everyone is under his surveillance. Hatred must have some secrets that he doesn't know about. Nick Fury rubbed his eyebrows. Now is not the time to deal with this matter. Let's first call up the location of Abomination and see his recent movement trajectory. We will temporarily arrange manpower to monitor, and we will wait until the Hydra incident is over. Phil Coulson nodded, okay, I'll make arrangements right away. He didn't say it, but he knew Nick Fury must have guessed it. Hatred is a pragmatism, and a bold pragmatism. This can be seen from the fact that he injected the super soldier serum with side effects twice in a row and injected Hulk fluid without hesitation. And now, if he dares to strengthen those soldiers, he will definitely have a way to restore their bodies. This means that Abomination possesses something that they can hardly imagine and can be mass-produced to restore stumps. If it can be obtained, it will definitely give S.H.I.E.L.D a boost. It's a pity that now is not the time, so I can only put it aside for the time being. What does the dismantling shop you keep talking about disassembling equipment look like? Captain America looked curious. How could the decomposition shop produce so many super soldiers? I think back then, it took the whole country to create a super soldier serum. Only Dr. Abraham Erskine can make it. As soon as Dr. Erskine died, the super soldier plan was turned into nothingness. Now, there is such a mysterious and unforgettable place right in front of us, so no one covets it. Natasha Romanoff shook her head. Although I have used a decomposer, I don't know what the decomposer is. I only know that the shop owner is called Ron, and he owns 5 decomposing machines. The decomposing machines can decompose equipment into the power to strengthen our bodies. Even the equipment is just the combat uniforms, pistols, and daggers we wear every day. No one understands the principle of a decomposition machine and can define those things as pseudo-equipment. Captain America was confused and even more confused. Who is that Ron? Facing his gaze, Natasha Romanoff still shook her head. No one knows his identity, only his name. No one knows where he comes from or what his purpose is. Captain America suddenly looked solemn, a guy who didn't even know his purpose. But in a cheap way, it allows others to gain power and become extraordinary. Either he is a good person, or he has a deeper purpose. And no one believes that there are such selfless good people in the world. Captain America frowned and looked at Natasha Romanoff. When are we going to the decomposition shop? He was a little impatient and wanted to go to the branch to have a look. Natasha Romanoff spread her hands. You need to wait for this. After all, the equipment still needs to be shipped. Captain America nodded. Okay, no problem. On the other side, Magneto, Professor X, and others passed by over Manhattan. Looking at the direction of the transport trucks heading towards the decomposition shop, I felt a little anxious. Magneto glanced at Professor X. We will discuss the specific candidates then. I will go and transport the equipment first. Professor X nodded. Okay. They still need to discuss carefully about who in mutant will be improved in strength. After all, the person who gets the strengthening first has to pave a way for others. The two looked at each other and nodded. Then Magneto Wong sent Professor X to Mutant Academy and turned to leave. 707 on the ground, at the entrance of the decomposition shop, I looked up with disgust. Looking at Magneto King's retreating figure, he narrowed his eyes. This time, Magneto's loot was more, dozens of times more than his. If he wasn't afraid of Professor X's psychic power, he would take advantage of it at any opportunity. But it doesn't matter, compared to Mutant's huge group of people, those equipments are not much more than his. When he trains a group of warriors injected with extremis and parasitizes the rioting tribesmen, he will be the strongest organization on Earth. Even if he goes to the universe, he still has a place. The big hole in the sky, and the Chitauri spaceship. Let all powerful organizations and people on the Earth have the idea of going to see the universe. That is another starry sky far away from the solar system. Moreover, they all learned about it from Ron's mouth. The universe is very big, and there are many strong people, but it will never be like the Earth, with so many people gathered together. Bowie, let them get ready outside. I'll let you in later, then line up and go inside. Bowie, the captain of those soldiers, immediately responded, Yes, Lin. Chapter 106. Mr. Ron. Abomination walked into the store and just said hello when he saw Ron exchanging blows with an old man with a white beard. Off to the side, Loki stood motionless like a statue. I don't care anyway. When the time comes, I will open a passage in Helheim and send it directly to your store. Odin had a look on his face. I'm going to be a rogue, what are you doing? Ron didn't tolerate him either. Are you sure? I can make Loki, the level godfather, fall into an illusion. Do you believe that I can also make Hela fall into an illusion? When the time comes, I will ask her to call me daddy when we meet. Don't regret it. Odin was short of breath, but his chest was rising and falling rapidly, and he couldn't do anything. The two quarreled, looking at each other in disgust and stunned. Let her call Dad? Inexplicable hatred. This sentence feels very familiar, as if I have experienced it. Hey? Wasn't it the first time he met Thor that Ron asked him to call him daddy? This old man can talk to Ron like this. The state of the two of them, as well as Odin's outfit, made him subconsciously lift the detector button. Odin's battlesuit level, purple note. Odin found a piece of casual clothing just to wear for a short time when meeting friends, so it was not affected by Odin's will and divine power. Song has reached a mere purple level. Odin's battlesuit. Damn FK. It's indeed Odin. His pupils were shaking with hatred, and his whole body was numb. I have seen the Ancient One, and this time I saw Odin too. As expected of Odin, the monk's robe often worn by the Ancient One is directly of the deep purple level. Look at Odin's, just to meet friends. Wear it for a short time. It's just a purple level. The whole comment, not a single word. This is the boss. Sure enough, he is right to keep a low profile. Fortunately, he just said one sentence, and he saw something was wrong and quickly shut up. This was also thanks to the fact that his violence was completely suppressed in the store, otherwise he didn't know what would have happened. The earth is too dangerous, seize the time to train your own subordinates, and then go to the universe to develop. Hatred secretly made up his mind to study the spaceship immediately when he returns this time. Seeing that Odin was so angry, Ron simply waved his hand. Okay, old man, someone is here and they want to argue with me. You don't want the majesty of the God King anymore. Odin snorted coldly. The majesty of the God King has always been achieved through fighting. Only with strong strength can the team be feared. Ron raised his eyebrows. Well, you have the same idea as me. Okay. He waved to Abomination. Go and break down the equipment. I see you brought a lot of equipment here. With a thought, the door of the decomposition shop suddenly changed drastically under the eyes of Hatred. From the outside it looks the same as before, but from the inside it looks like a huge amount of space gate. Not to mention the trucks, even the spacecraft can drive in directly. You can also see that the inner space of the entire store is expanding at a speed that is difficult to calculate with the naked eye. Until it is expanded enough to accommodate a spaceship. What kind of ability is this? How did he do it? Deep down in his heart, Riot shouted in shock. His whole body was filled with hatred, and he quickly denounced the riot in his heart. Didn't I tell you not to talk nonsense? You know, this is not just Ron, there is also Odin. Ron wouldn't do anything to the riot unless he provoked him. But who knows what kind of temper Odin is? Now we are catching up with Odin, who is in a bad mood after being scolded by Ron. What if Odin says, "Evil Uki, eh? What's the mess?" If Odin senses the riot and is extremely disgusted, both of them will be humanely destroyed today. At this moment, Hatred clearly noticed two gazes coming towards him, and his whole body trembled. Ron raised his eyebrows, seeing something familiar inside Abomination. Isn't this the symbiote in Venom? Judging from the color, it doesn't seem to be Venom. Riot. Hatred is lucky, Riot is much more powerful than Venom, and death is a plot kill. Odin has no expression at all, because he knows the body. His eyes can see further than Heimdall can, and few people in the universe can escape his eyes. Not even the magician holy place on earth. Only Ancient One's Camartage now has an additional Ron's disassembly shop. All he could say about the symbiote was rubbish. Symbiotes cannot parasitize the bodies of the gods, and they cannot bear the exclusive divine power. The biological armor brought about by symbiosis is not much better than the armor of the gods in improving strength. The silence of the two bosses made Hatred dare not move. He was relieved when the two men looked away. Leaning half out of the door, Bowie, let them bring the truck in. Bowie. What? Drive in? How to drive? Direct collision? However, he was only confused for a moment. As a soldier, he must obey orders, so he immediately gave the order, drive. He jumped into the first car first and drove the car into the door of the decomposition shop himself. Hatred was stunned and turned around to look. Hey? The outside has not changed at all? No wonder Bowie looked wrong just now. Seeing Abomination return to the store, Bowie's eyes narrowed and he ran directly into the store door. The expected rumbling sound did not appear. Instead, his eyes suddenly blurred and the environment changed drastically. Only when he saw clearly did he realize that he had actually driven into the store. The others were even more shocked, and their whole bodies went numb. Everyone has only one idea: what on earth is this place? Bowie, let people move all the equipment over here. The hateful voice made them all come to their senses. The money is good. One by one, they quickly got out of the car and came to the decomposer, waiting for the trucks to come, and then they got on and unloaded the trucks. After unloading a car, Abomination waved to stop. Go directly to the elementary level disassembly machine and disassemble the first vehicle equipment. He planned to strengthen the strength of these soldiers first, but the speed of moving equipment was too slow. As for not decomposing it all at once and wasting money, he does not think that the $1,000 spent on the elementary level decomposer needs to be saved. In the shocked eyes of the soldiers, the decomposition machine projected a light that enveloped the equipment on the ground. The equipment quickly became smaller, was included in it, and then began to decompose. As the sound of gears stopped, a light curtain appeared. Decomposition successful. Defective will *100. Broken crystal fragments *100. Mechanical proficiency *100. Shooting mastery *10. Mix. Do you want to withdraw immediately? Chapter 107. Before the soldiers could recover, they heard Hatred speaking an order. Bowie, you go first, smash them. After the words fell, Abomination gave all the more than 300 light groups to Bowie. Bowie didn't understand the meaning of the hateful words at all. As a soldier, he subconsciously obeyed the orders. He hadn't even realized in his mind why there were so many light groups that seemed to have a diameter of 3 centimeters, but they could all fit in his hand. He slapped him with a palm, and as dense spots of light scattered, he was surrounded all over. He immediately felt as if his whole body was soaked in a hot spring. It was numb, accompanied by bursts of itching. If he remembered correctly, those itchy places were places that had been injured. That feeling is like a wound healing. After a while, it actually didn't even take 10 seconds, the feeling subsided and he opened his eyes. As soon as he entered his eyes, he saw the big eyes staring at him with hatred and full of irritation. Hatred stretched out his hand and pulled, "Okay, do you feel it? Once you feel it, go and unload the car. When everyone has strengthened, I will treat you 013 when we get back." 21 Bowie's eyes suddenly lit up and he immediately shouted, "Yes, sir." He now knows better than anyone else what hatred has given them. Incomparably powerful. He even has a feeling now that he can lift the truck transporting equipment. His body has become dozens of times stronger. With his current physical condition, he can definitely withstand extremis. By then, his right hand that was blown off will be restored. When others were confused, they suddenly saw Bowie showing terrifying strength. One person unloaded a car in just 2 minutes. Then, they just stood on the sidelines and watched as Bowie unloaded all the equipment alone. Hundreds of vehicles and tens of thousands of pieces of equipment were all piled together like a hill. This is not to hate the entire harvest, but he can only find 100 taels of truck transportation for the time being. And here are only blue equipment, there are many green equipment waiting for him to strengthen himself. In addition, he also wants to leave part of it for people at the base to research and crack. Jade, after all, if you want to rush out of the Earth and into the universe, you cannot do without long-range attack methods in the universe. 100 trucks are enough for him to strengthen 100 surface-level peak subordinates. Coupled with extremis, all 100 people will become planet-level powerhouses. As for the rioting tribesmen in the universe, that is just the icing on the cake. He could feel that once he reached level sub-godfather, the riot would have almost no amplifying effect on him. Moreover, the symbiote thing has limitations. If the symbiote is parasitized, the ability of extremis cannot be used. Otherwise, if it takes a long time, the symbiote will be killed. As for the symbiote's ability to heal all trauma, extremis can do the same. In comparison, the advanced body has become a limitation of its own strength. At this time, after Bowie had seen Hate decompose the equipment once, he stepped forward to decompose the equipment without Hate's guidance. Then he extracted the decomposed rewards, arranged for his teammates, and stepped forward one by one to receive the strengthening. Every soldier who accepted strengthening finally knew why Bowie had that expression just now. They all clenched their fists subconsciously, and the surging power in their bodies shocked them so much that they could hardly contain themselves. At the same time, Ron's power has been slightly improved again, probably equivalent to a galaxy-level power. At the moment Ron looked a little surprised. He didn't perceive the thoughts of hatred in others. Sometimes, it was boring to see through people's inner thoughts. Since when did you, with such good intentions, start cultivating disabled people? Could it be that his original personality, Bronsky, has awakened? Feeling pity for these soldiers who retired due to disabilities? He shook his head and didn't think about it further. It was useless to think too much. Now that he was strong, this was the only fun left. The blue-grade equipment that Abomination brought to decomposition this time were all relatively large in size. He still has at least 30,000 to 40,000 pieces in hand, but compared to others, what he has obtained is still less. On average, a Chitauri soldier carries 2 to 3 pieces of equipment. Like S.H.I.E.L.D, there must be at least 100,000 pieces of loot this time, and Hulk alone killed more than 10,000 people. The Defenders, after Apocalypse joined, acquired the third largest amount of equipment among all organizations, with more than 300,000 pieces. Second place is definitely Magneto, the leader of the mutants. He alone is short of 200,000 Chitauri soldiers. Together with a few scraps from other mutants, they obtained a total of millions of pieces of equipment. The only one left to take the lead is Thor. After seeing Magneto, Apocalypse, and others directly blocking the space channel, he took down the Chitauri mothership in one go, and there were hundreds of thousands of Chitauri soldiers inside. Not including the many pieces of equipment that were accidentally damaged, the total was close to 3 million pieces of equipment, plus a Chitauri mothership. The extraordinary beings on Earth will be completely strengthened. It seems like a large number, but when you think about it being all of a cosmic race, it doesn't feel like much at all. There are 3 million pieces of equipment, about 1/3 of which are green equipment. Nearly 2 million defective wills, 1 million broken wills. After Ron calculated the quantity, he suddenly discovered that disassembling all the equipment could actually double his strength. What an unexpected surprise! Ron was suddenly stunned. So, doesn't it mean that he can break the barrier of the universe? At this moment, he actually had an urge in his heart to control Magneto, Frank, and others to break down the equipment. But after thinking about it, I forgot about it. In just a few days, something finally happened that made his heart beat a little faster. This kind of strange excitement and expectation is worth letting him take some time to feel. Odin left, but in the end he still didn't make up his mind to release Hela. Ron didn't agree and let him go. He couldn't hold it down on his own. Hela's power is bound to Asgard. As long as Asgard is not destroyed, her power will continue to grow and grow. Sooner or later, he will be unable to suppress himself. In his opinion, only Ron's decomposition shop, with its magical suppressive power, can suppress Hela. But we can't. We really want Hela to call Ron Daddy, right? Damn FK. BD Ron. Chapter 108. Odin returned to Asgard via the Bifrost. He nodded to Heimdall. He had something on his mind. He was just a little surprised by Heimdall's twinkling eyes. He did not ask in detail, but flashed back to the palace. Seeing Odin leaving directly, Heimdall breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the queen hasn't told the God King yet, otherwise wouldn't she really want the old tree to bloom? A person who has lived for most of his life and is looking for a wife at the end of his life makes him anxious just thinking about it. Why are you so fast? Frigga asked with a confused expression when she saw Odin. The look on Odin's face suddenly turned ugly. Am I quick? I'll show you something unpleasant. He waved his hand and unfolded a barrier, blocking all prying eyes, and looked at Frigga with one eye. The confusion in Frigga's eyes became even worse. What are you going to do? What happened? Do you need to set up a barrier in the palace? As soon as she finished speaking, she saw that Odin picked her up without saying a word and went straight to the bed. Frigga? And such a good thing? The eyes that were originally full of wisdom and saw through the world were flickering at the moment. It has been more than 1,000 years since the birth of Thor, and the two of them have never been together. It turns out that you will be stimulated if you are told that you are fast, I understand. The time she spent surfing the internet at Camartage and browsing those new age quotes was not in vain. Wait a minute, please separate yourself first and let duplication learn more about it, so I can use it later. With a thought, a duplication appeared outside the palace and followed Bifrost to Camartage again. I borrowed the Camartage network and browsed the novelty stuff. As for what is happening in the palace of the God King of Asgard now. She is a duplication, how could she know? I have no idea. Hiss. This knowledge. Frigga Duplication's cheeks were slightly red. How old is this old guy? He still thinks he is a young man. Blinking shyly, he looked at the information on the computer carefully. Oh, so this is how young people fall in love nowadays? Love at dusk? Like an older man? I have to say that the mortals of Midgard are really good at playing now. Frigga duplication sighed while browsing, and the feeling coming from her body could not restrain her urge to gossip. And in this way, the day lasts for a whole day. All I can say is that he is worthy of being a god king, and it turns out that he has a bonus for this kind of thing. On the other side, the decomposition shop opened with hatred, and other people came to the decomposition shop one after another. The first to arrive were the defenders, without Tony among them. They contacted Tony, and Tony said that he had some new ideas to study, and just left his equipment first. Frank and others couldn't wait any longer, so Tianfu gave birth. With the help of Stark Industries, unlike Abomination, they only shipped part of it. What? What should I do if the store cannot be opened? I wonder if Tony Stark spent money to buy the entire street around the branch. Money is so willful. It just so happens that Stark Industries is just down the street, and buying it will help expand the company's scale. Mr. Ron. Frank and others were shocked as soon as they said hello. How did the interior space of this store become so big? Hey? Is this the door of a store? Are you sure it's not a space passage? Peter Parker even ran out to take a look. Wow. Mr. Ron, how did you do that? The outside is still the same as before. It's almost like the space channel in the sky. Can you also open a space channel, just like the one in the sky? Then can you open a direct link to other planets? Peter. Frank slapped Peter Parker on the back of the head. Be respectful to Mr. Ron. Oh, sorry, Mr. Ron. Peter touched the back of his head, but it didn't hurt. Ron didn't care about what they said and smiled slightly. It's okay, but Peter suggested that I haven't tried it yet. The space gem represents the space origin of the universe. My power has nothing to do with space, and I don't know if I can do it. Definitely, this is his unique humility as a member of the Dragon Kingdom in his previous life. Please give me flowers. If you can do it, you may say it's difficult, but I won't do it. You must know that after this decomposition is completed, he can cross the universe, not to mention it is just a space channel in this universe. Seeing Ron's smiling face, no one dared to make random guesses. Anyway, whatever the boss says is whatever it is. If you think about something randomly in your mind and the boss sees it, it will be over. At this time, Matt, who had a keen sixth sense, was slightly startled. Hey? Who is standing over there? Loki. Matt's words also made everyone look, and sure enough, they saw a man with a bruised nose and swollen face. Although he couldn't tell his appearance, just by looking at his clothes, that's not who Loki was. Familiar green clothes, and a helmet that looks like Bambi. This is Odin's second son, so miserable. Little Peter swallowed. Fortunately, I just listened to Uncle Frank and apologized, otherwise I would be like him now. Well, he's Loki. Ron smiled and didn't hide anything, telling what happened to Loki. He decomposed the mind gem, one of the 6 infinite gems. The strength has increased a lot, and he is considered a strong one among level Godfather. It's just that the strength has improved, but the brain has not improved along with it. It's all because that old man Odin didn't educate him well. There are 3 children in total, and now they all want him to help discipline them. He was not allowed to call him daddy. All the good things he did were Odin's. He worked so hard that even his father didn't. Who can do this for him? Ron's words made everyone in the Defenders shrink their pupils. Deconstructed infinite gems. He is considered a strong person among level Godfather. Level Godfather, the strong man is now standing there obediently punished? Wait. In other words, after Loki absorbed the power of the mind gem, he circled Mr. Ron? And then it became like this? As expected, Mr. Ron is the strongest. Loki is indeed not weak at level Godfather, although his pure strength is not much different from Carol's. But with a complete spiritual origin and a body of infinite consciousness, he can definitely crush the current Carol. Unless Carol has a complete space source river. Chapter 109. After all, Loki is also a strong level Godfather, so let him be as watchable as Joker here. It would be bad if we found out later and our mentality collapsed and we were screwed. Ron simply waved his hand and hid Loki. Then he waved his hands to Frank and others. Let's dismantle the equipment. With excitement in their hearts, the Defenders and others brought Apocalypse and Ororo to the decomposer. Didn't you ask me what the equipment is used for? Take a look. Under Apocalypse's gaze, the decomposer who accepted the money actually took away all the tens of millions of pieces of equipment. In just a few moments, Countless light clusters were decomposed and extracted from the decomposer by Frank. Decomposition successful. Shining will *160. Shining colorless small crystal blocks *16. 023 energy control *30W. Energy ray *30W. Mechanical proficiency *150W. Driving proficiency *30W. Shooting proficiency *30W. What is the Big Bang? This is it. Excluding the equipment left for Tony, after dismantling more than 300,000 pieces, all the rewards are here. Then Frank, in front of Apocalypse, 5 of them, each divided a quarter. The surging light spots enveloped the 5 people. In the blink of an eye, Apocalypse felt the auras of the 5 people surge wildly. It has soared from the planet level to the galaxy level, and is still rising steadily. Apocalypse was silent. What is the principle? Thinking back then, he had to work hard to improve his strength, selecting good candidates, then training them, and finally changing their bodies. With all his own strength, he took over everything in his new body. I don't know how many years passed before the current Luong was born. As a result, under his gaze, the strength of these 5 people increased by leaps and bounds, and they caught up with him right before his eyes. No. Already caught up. Level Sub-God Father. Even if you just got involved with level Sub-God Father, you are still level Sub-God Father. This, his eyes were immediately fixed on the decomposition machine. Fortunately, his rationality still suppressed his desire, and he knew that the shop owner Ron was not simple, so he didn't have any evil intentions. No matter how powerful the decomposer is, it only increases its strength. By changing his body, he can not only increase his strength, but also gain everything from the other party, including ability, strength, and even lifespan. Is this the power of level Sub-God Father? It's simply too powerful. Can we venture into the universe? Peter Parker felt the power in his body, with uncontrollable excitement on his face. I want Spider-Man to spread throughout the universe. No. I should change to a better nickname now. Spider-Man is not domineering at all. Uncle Frank, what do you think I should change to? I don't know. Frank rolled his eyes and slapped him aside. Mentioning nicknames in front of his Kun Exploder Frank? Is that sick? I wonder if this is the last thing he wants to mention. The biggest black history, if he could, he would pay to erase that history. Bakugan has no aesthetics at all. He is a muscular tough guy who defeated the Abomination, so why should he be called the Hulk Terminator? Otherwise, you can just change it to the Hateful Killer, the Exploder? What a mess. A smile flashed across the eyes of Matt and Luke Cage. Ever since the nickname spread, Frank's biggest annoyance is when someone mentions the nickname in front of him. Because everyone thinks that there are only wrong names, not wrong nicknames. There is no man who is not afraid, and women who see him are afraid. When seeing Frank, no one can help but feel a cool breeze in their crotch. Afterwards, I avoided Frank in fear, still thinking silently in my mind that the explosive Kun can't see me. Can't see me. Can't see me. In a word, everyone is frightened by Frank's reputation. Frank took out the remaining light ball and handed it to the 2 Apocalypse. Take it, try it, you will like the feeling. The 2 took it and shattered the light group. Looking at the light spots coming towards me, I subconsciously wanted to resist. But when he thought of the appearance of Frank and others before, he restrained himself and quietly watched the light spots integrating into his body. What follows is a numbing sensation brought about by increased strength throughout the body. That feeling reminds Storm of the time when Apocalypse unleashed her potential. Apocalypse's eyes widened in shock, and he looked at Frank sharply. The light group decomposed by the decomposer can not only increase the power but also extend the lifespan. Frank nodded. Definitely, lifespan is linked to the body. The reward of the decomposition machine is to improve your physical fitness in all aspects. As your physique improves, the rate of aging slows down, and your natural lifespan is extended. For this reason, he specially went for a checkup. When he was at the planet level, his lifespan was almost hundreds of years or nearly 1,000 years. Now that it has reached level Sub-God Father, it will be there in thousands of years, not to mention tens of thousands of years. Apocalypse can no longer hold back. Why did he change his body? It's not just because your body will age over time. Every time that time comes, he will find a new suitable body. This decomposition machine actually allows him to do everything he can do if he changes his body. Not only that, it's much faster than changing bodies. He saw all this with his own eyes and felt it personally. Moreover, it will not turn people into consumables. As long as the opponent is restrained, the opponent can always provide him with equipment. Source constantly equipment to enhance strength. If he had had a decomposer before falling asleep, 5.6 he would have been invincible by now. After the defenders and others strengthened, S.H.I.E.L.D, mutant, all came over one after another to dismantle the equipment in their hands. There's even NYPD's George Stacy at the end. With the 3 Gwen girls here, Inspector George also seized a lot of equipment. For what he had in mind, he did not hand over the equipment, but asked his daughter Gwen and her friends to collect it. We got the disassembly shop together and divided them into universes. In the end, they got what they wanted, and Gwen and the other 3 left with satisfaction. After they all left, Ron was also looking forward to the final arrival of Tony and Thor. They still have half of the equipment in their hands. Just wait for them to be decomposed and you can start the multi-universe journey. Chapter 110. One day later, Frigga Duplication said hello to the Ancient One and returned to Asgard through Bifrost. The Ancient One watched Frigga leave in surprise. She didn't quite understand. Why is the look on this old friend's face so weird? Shy? Excited? Eager? Eager to try? What is all this mess? I subconsciously activated Time Gem, but suddenly I remembered that I could no longer check it. He ducked in front of the computer that Frigga had just used. Fortunately, Frigga didn't know much about computers and didn't know that the records needed to be cleared. Ancient One clicked and looked at it curiously. Ancient One's eyes couldn't help but widen slightly. He closed the computer without changing his expression, thought about it, opened it again, and cleared the records. After thinking about it again, she directly formatted the entire computer. Then, I finally closed the computer. Just as she was about to leave, she suddenly raised her hand and wrapped the computer in a burst of magical energy. Magical energy constantly consumes the computer, eventually turning it into nothingness. The Ancient One waved his hand, opened a space crack, looked at the hot magma inside, wrapped the empty space without any hesitation, and threw it in. Finally, she breathed a sigh of relief. It was so scary. She decided that Frigga would never let Frigga use Camartage's computer in the future. No. We can't let Frigga come to Camartage again. Not even Duplication. What if her disciples knew? Well, it would be better to let them know that she stole the energy of the dark dimension. I would rather die early. Babado is much better. Asgard. Frigga's duplication turned into a stream of light and disappeared into Frigga's body on the bed in the palace. Ron didn't agree with Hela's matter. Odin sighed and said. Frigga's face was full of surprise and she asked, why? How did you tell him? Odin briefly talked about the conversation between the two. Daddy. Frigga was stunned for a moment, then she thought of something and looked at Odin. Dad. After a while, Li Ding stood up holding his waist. Even the divine body can't handle this thing, so you have to exercise restraint. Get up, let's go talk outside. Odin patted Frigga, looking like he wanted to escape from here. With a smile on her face, Frigga waved her hand, and the palace took on a new look. All the smell disappeared and was replaced by a light floral fragrance. As he stood up, a suit of regular clothes gradually appeared on his body. Look, do you understand? Following Odin to the outside of the palace, Frigga looked at Agong with a smile. Odin turned to look at her with a strange look on his face. Where did you learn these? Not to mention, although his back hurt, it really made him feel very novel. There are even some things that are left unfinished. His one eye flickered, and his mind was filled with images of the time he just slept in the palace. Frigga saw his expression and glared at him. You men, whether you are a god king or an ordinary man, are all the same. Odin smiled and said nothing, waiting for Frigga to explain to him. I sent a duplication to Midgard yesterday to learn more about it. If Frigga survives, Odin is stunned. In that case, can the question be scored? Do you look down on me if you enjoy things without concentration? Do you look down on me? Odin stared and wanted to punish her. But as soon as he saw Frigga's face glowing red, she looked radiant. Feeling that his waist was sore and his legs were weak again, he swallowed his breath. Frigga gave him a look of disdain, trying to show off her strength even if she couldn't do it. Sure enough, what I just said was right, the God King is no different from the mortals of Midgard. I learned about Midgard's current situation. In Midgard's words, the relationship between men and women in the new era, cough, hey. Odin looked strange, you went to Midgard just to learn this stuff. You know nothing. Frigga retorted rudely. Do you know that in Midgard, do men and women need to fall in love first before they can be together? I thought it was you who took a fancy to it and grabbed it right away. If you don't agree, you'll beat the whole family into submission, and then with murderous intent and weapons, you'll ask them if they agree. This is how their witch clan was defeated by Odin. This is how she married Odin. Back then, she was the most talented girl in the witch clan. Look now, I'm taking care of this bad old man's children at home every day. Facing Odin's gaze, Frigga continued. Do you know how men and women in Midgard get along with each other now? Ron said he asked Hela to call him daddy. Does that really deny the fact that you are Hela's biological father? That's a kind of fun that spreads among mortals. Just like you, I used force to conquer. Midgard men do not pay attention to conquering women with force, but in some aspects, they always have the upper hand. For example, this title is one of them. So, Ron, that's not rejecting you, it's clearly saying that he wants to suppress Hela in the relationship between men and women. The more Odin listened, the more dizzy he became, but he finally understood a little bit. But Ron did not refuse, and moreover, he wanted to suppress Hela. That seems to be enough. Odin looked at Frigga, then send Hela directly. What he said made him feel like selling his daughter. Frigga nodded, I think it's okay. Didn't Ron unlock the store's restrictions for you? You can directly open the passage connecting Helheim to his store. Hela was suppressed as soon as she appeared, so as not to cause any killings and make Ron dissatisfied. Odin. Why do I feel weird in my heart? I am selling my daughter and I am worried that the buyer will not be satisfied. Even help buyers solve pre-sales and after-sales problems? Odin's face kept changing for a moment, I gave him my daughter, and he still resisted. I still have to find a way for him. That's so cheap, Ron. Frigga rolled her eyes at him, then can you find someone better than Ron? Is he stronger than him? Can he still suppress Hela? Or is his appearance more outstanding than him? You can use this method to make him your son-in-law, just enjoy it secretly. He is a generation shorter than you for nothing, and you don't suffer any loss. Chapter 111. My name is Loki, and after I decomposed the mind gem, I finally became stronger than that BD Ron. I took control of his consciousness and changed his will. He became my most loyal servant. Every day I would hit him and scold him whenever I wanted. At the same time, I also took the decomposition machine as my own, and everyone in the universe became tools to provide me with equipment. I have infinitely improved my strength and become stronger and stronger. In the end, I became the only true God in the universe, and the entire universe became a plaything in the palm of my hand. One thought can make the whole universe run according to my thoughts, and no one can escape my control. That supreme power made me feel empty inside. To be honest, I'm not interested in strength. I really don't want to increase my strength infinitely. If possible, I really want to go back to the past. I think back then, when I was not very strong, I would play around with Thor every day. Those were my happiest days. However, just as I was thinking this, my eyes suddenly blurred. Loki, this is a decomposition shop. This place is familiar yet unfamiliar. Ron behind the counter. In the hall, stood Thor defending Frank, who always liked to blast others in some alliance fight. There is also a cripple who also has the power of the mind, and his fellow mutants. Oh, and that steel mustache. Am I dreaming? Loki didn't think about it for a moment. He glared at Ron and was about to scold him when he suddenly felt a pain in his cheek. He touched it subconsciously. Hey? Why is it swollen? Hey? Where are my teeth? He opened his mouth and scolded Ron with a stern tone and an angry look on his face. Ron, what's going on? Who dares to do something to me? Who did the wounds on my face? While asking, Lug used magic to recover from his injuries. In the blink of an eye, the injury recovered as before, but he had doubts in his heart. The breath of the person who left the wound on his face was similar to his own. Could it be that there is another giant of Jotunheim who grew up in Asgard and learned the magic of witches? Finally, the eternal spear and mind gem were decomposed? Hiss, why do you think this is impossible? Hey? Ron, I'm talking to you, why don't you answer? You want me to deal with you again? Loki opened his mouth and was about to continue his scolding when he saw everyone in the store looking at him wrongly. Look at him with the look of a warrior. It's so fierce that you dare to talk to Ron like that. At this time, they still don't know. Loki, who was treated as a statue, had been immersed in the dreams Ron had spun for him during this period. Obviously, this is still a relatively good dream. Thor walked up to Loki, his hands covered with lightning. He gently pressed down on Loki and gave Loki a numbing electrotherapy. After being shocked by Thor, Loki immediately became angry. General Thor! What are you doing? How dare you use the power of your thunder on the only true god of the universe? Thor! Good guy, you are very kind to me and let me be your general. Thor suddenly thought of Asgard and couldn't help but ask. Where are the father and the queen? Loki slapped Thor's hand aside. How presumptuous! Can you call me your father and my queen? You have to call the priest and the goddess. Remember, if you call me wrong next time, don't blame me for punishing you again. Loki. Odin's figure suddenly appeared in the shop. He really couldn't stand it anymore, this embarrassing guy. Father. Seeing Odin coming, Thor let go and stepped aside. Loki didn't know why his heart suddenly trembled when he saw Odin. But when I think of my current status, I feel confident. What's that look on your face? I no longer need your approval, Loki. I am now the only true god of the universe. You should be proud of me. I do better than Thor. Always. Always. Shut up. Loki. Odin raised his hand and shot out a burst of divine power, directly sealing Loki's mouth. After subduing Loki, Odin looked at Ron. Ron, his punishment is over, how about it? Ron nodded, definitely, I was going to let him go. As he spoke, he glanced at Odin, stop thinking about asking me to educate your children, each one is more troublesome than the other. Odin pretended not to hear, left a word, and disappeared again in a flash. I have limited Loki's power and let him reflect on it for a while with you. You can use it however you want, just let him apologize for disrespecting you in the illusion. Seeing Odin leave, Thor became a lot bolder. He walked up to Loki and looked at him with a teasing look on his face. How comfortable are you in a fantasy world? I, General Thor, am the only true god. You. Loki's face turned ugly. He really couldn't use his power. Is this reality? But before. He looked at Ron. How did you do it? I have the spiritual origin of mind gem, and the power of the mind is the strongest in the universe. How could you confuse me without even realizing it? Ron looked at him with a smile, who told you that there is only one mind gem? Loki looked in disbelief, there are only 6 soul gems in the universe. How could there be a second mind gem? Zhao Li's, Ron smiled, not just the second one, there are even countless. If there is a universe, there will be 6 infinite gems. If there are infinite multi-universes, there will naturally be infinite gems. 17 Poor Loki, he can't even dream big. Just being a true god of the universe, ruling a universe, and being recognized by Odin and Frigga is enough for him to feel satisfied. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Loki shouted. Ignoring Loki who was yelling, Ron looked at the others. After the Chitauri invasion war, all of you have gained a lot. Level sub-godfather, galaxy level, the worst ones are planet level. Ron glanced at everyone, I will open the channel consciousness of other universes. What you can get in another universe is up to you. Chapter 112. A passage to another universe. Everyone couldn't believe it. They just heard about multi-universe from Ron. You can actually see what other universes look like right away. Excited, and looking forward to it, everyone present stared at Ron closely. Prepare to see how he opens the channel between the universe and the universe. At this moment, they saw Ron reaching out his hand and gently moving it in the void. Although they didn't know what Ron was doing, they couldn't see the colored lights in Ron's eyes that represented other universes. However, a huge coercion, like the cosmic consciousness, suddenly pressed on their hearts. That's not a gap in strength or strength. It is more like the natural power of parents over their children and God over believers. Let them not be able to think of any resistance and obey subconsciously. This pressure was huge, but it didn't make them feel any danger. Just like the subconscious tells them again, it won't do any harm to them. They looked at each other and found that everyone was shocked. They all fell silent and looked at Ron without making a single sound. The power Ron showed shocked them again. I always thought that as my strength improved rapidly, I would definitely be getting closer to Ron. Unexpectedly, Ron would give them new surprises every time. Suddenly, they noticed that Ron's eyes suddenly lit up. They were overjoyed. Is this accomplished? At this time, a dark space passage suddenly appeared in the store. They couldn't wait to look inside. Tony Stark was slightly startled. Is this a cosmic passage? Why is it so dark? Professor X frowned in confusion. Is there a crisis of annihilation in another universe? Or maybe a lot of people died? How come I noticed the thick silence from the other side of the passage? After hearing what the two said, the others also silently perceived it. Sure enough, it's the same as Professor X said. Deadly, depressing, they can't even perceive the existence of living things. There was even a strong smell of death inside. Thor looked at it for a long time and suddenly said, why does it look so like a helm ghost from Asgard? Could it be that Ron opened the tunnel to the Asgard underworld in another universe? All eyes turned to Ron. I saw that Ron's face was not very pretty, his lips were moving, but there was no sound. Fortunately, I was talking to a certain being, and the words he said didn't seem to be good. Odin, I spent my whole life trying to stop her, it's time to enjoy it. Ron, get out. It's hard for you to die now, don't bullshit me. Odin, no matter what, she is my daughter, I can't always feel sorry for her. Ron, old guy, so your solution is to let me coax the child for you. Aren't you afraid that I'll let her call me daddy? Odin said in an indifferent tone, it's up to you, Hela is left to you. Don't ask her to call her daddy. I don't have any objection to you asking her to call her grandpa. Ron was a bit silent, although he said Hela was good. Personality. According to the previous life, he was a fierce horse, the kind that makes men want to conquer him at the first sight. But he is still a pure man, and he likes free love. After finishing the conversation with Odin, he looked at the space passage getting bigger and bigger with an expressionless face. That's not the cosmic channel, that's the space channel connecting Asgard to the underworld. Besides, I didn't open it, Odin opened it. The dark space door finally stabilized and stopped expanding. Inside the door, there was a black fog, and green energy lightning flashed continuously in the black fog. Tada! 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 A crisp sound of footsteps came from the drunken garden. Listening to the footsteps, Tony suddenly remembered what Ron once said. Ron, did you say that Odin imprisoned his eldest daughter Hela in the underworld? This is the passage to the underworld. In other words, the person coming on the other side is. His words made everyone startled. Yes, Ron said at that time that if Odin died, Hela would escape from the underworld. Odin was fine all the time. He got stronger with the decomposer, so they forgot about it. Besides, this is a matter between the bosses. Once Hela comes out, Odin and Ron will also solve it. That kind of strong person will never be able to take their turn. Even though most of them have now reached level sub-godfather. Level godfather's battle is not something they can participate in. The level godfather present, except Loki, was Thor, who had dismantled all the equipment. But it has just reached level godfather. Facing a strong person like Hela, who has been at level godfather for thousands of years, she is not much stronger than Heavenly Father. It's been thousands of years, and someone actually knows about me. The moment Hela stepped out of the passage, the space passage quickly shrank and disappeared. Hela glanced around, and finally took a second look at the sleeping Meow in Thor's hand. So, that old guy Odin is dead. The terrifying pressure brought by Hela permeated the entire store. They were no longer afraid of Ron's previous power. And Hela's shock made their hearts beat wildly, and they subconsciously put on a defensive posture. When their bodies started to move, they realized that they had broken out in a cold sweat at some point. Tony blinked and reached out to push Thor. Thor, that is Odin's daughter, your eldest sister, go and talk to her about old times. And Loki, have you come to your senses? Tell your sister, it's wrong to fight, and it's even more wrong to fight in Ron's shop. Loki had obviously come to his senses at this time, recalling the scene when he decomposed the mind gem in his mind. It seems that I broke through level Godfather, mastered the power of the soul, and then drifted away. That scene is similar to when Hela appears now. However, Hela has not provoked Ron yet. It's such a pity that I didn't see him die with my own eyes. Hela smiled, you are all very capable. I will give you a chance to be my subordinate. Kneel. Hela's expression changed. Kneel down and pledge your loyalty to your queen. Seeing this scene, Loki couldn't help but touch his nose. Well, more like that. Chapter 113. Thor was about to step forward and Hela said something, but Loki suddenly grabbed him. He turned to look at Loki, who shrugged, "This is your Uncle Lo's territory, what are you in a hurry for?" He could tell at a glance that Thor was no match for Hela. Even though Hela has not fully recovered yet. With his feelings for Thor, how could he watch Thor go up and send him off? You know, even if he is trapped in an illusion, Thor is still his general, second only to him. Thor was reminded by Loki and suddenly remembered. Yes, this is Ron's territory. His father, Odin, couldn't even defeat Ron in the decomposition shop. Hela, although I have never fought, she is definitely no match for my father. Then in the disassembly shop, wouldn't it be like being beaten by Ron? Thinking of this, Thor raised his hand, put away the hammer, and looked at Ron. Hela looked at everyone's eyes and looked at Ron, who raised his eyebrows slightly. Here, you have the final say. Kneel down to your queen and I will spare your life. As she spoke, she raised her hands and wiped her hair back. That top-notch killer look directly touched Ron's soul. Seeing Ron still sitting behind the counter, motionless, Hela flicked her wrist, and a strange-looking black sword appeared in her hand. You look good, I hope you know how to assess the situation. Ron took a deep breath, your dark gothic style is really eye-catching. With that said, Ron raised his hand and touched Hela, I changed your clothes for you, you're welcome. Hela suddenly turned into a long straight black dress, wearing a light-colored long skirt that went down to her calves. On his feet were a pair of red hen shangjao, and the two long swords in his hands were replaced by white plush fans. Ron's eyes lit up when he looked at Hela's current image. The deep or shallow v-neck and cinched waist make the waist look extra slender. It's slightly hip-hugging, especially highlighting the curves. Ron nodded and praised, look at my aesthetic, how great it is. That outfit you were wearing before was all that stuff. Hela's eyes widened with shock. At the moment, her thick smoky makeup was replaced by light makeup, which made her look particularly pure. Looking at this unexpected and unimaginable scene, Tony was excited, Coach, I want to learn this. This is simply great. You can change the other person's clothes with just a wave of your hand. Doesn't this mean that he can have whatever he wants? Pepper's image appeared in his mind, and then he waved. Bikini nurse. Stewardess, constantly changing uniform. Hela shook her hand, then shook it again, and then shook it again. Where is a sword as big as mine? How did you do that? Hela looked at Ron with a little fear. She couldn't control her power. How? Ron waved to her, well, that's it. I saw Hela's clothes changed again. A very classic and figure-flattering OL uniform. Tony shouted excitedly, oh, man, I love your ability so much. How do you do it? Can you teach me? By the way, can your ability be upgraded to create other materials, such as my steel armor? After he finished speaking, Ron blinked, women's steel armor? Not a bad idea. The scene of Tony releasing the nano-steel armor emerged in Ron's mind. With a thought, a water-like object appeared on Hela's body and spread along her body surface. Until her body was completely covered, finally, an iron woman with bulging front and back appeared in front of Ron. Tony's eyes widened, what did he see just now? Nanotechnology. The nanotechnology he has always wanted to conquer. With nanotechnology, he no longer has to worry about not being able to carry the armor with him. Although with his current strength, the steel armor can be easily crushed. However, that is his hobby and his dream. Moreover, God King Odin can create a destroyer armor, which can even increase Odin's power zone. Then why couldn't he create a suit specifically for Tony Stark? RNTT. He doesn't believe that he can't do what others can do. Nanotechnology is what he has been studying, but he didn't expect to see it in Ron's place today. Ron, how did you just do that? Tony looked at Ron in disbelief. Frank looked at him doubtfully, what's wrong? Why are you so excited? Ron just made a steel armor with his bare hands, wasn't he so excited? Tony's eyes were filled with contempt for this guy who only grew muscles. What do you know? You don't know anything. That's nanotechnology. Frank snorted, I don't understand, and you don't understand either. Mr. Ron can do it easily, and you can only be shocked. 000 except for Tony, no one here knew what nanotechnology was, let alone how difficult this technology was. As for why Tony was so excited, only Ron knew. After all, in the later period, Tony built a full vibranium nanosuit, which was able to barely fight Thanos for a few rounds. However, he talked about the principle of nanotechnology. He only knows that as long as he has seen something, he can do it in the store, even if it means to conjure a person. He shook his head at Tony. I don't know how to make a nanosuit. I can do it only because I want to. At this time, Hela also suppressed the shock in her heart and subconsciously spoke after hearing Ron's words. TIE particles, have you mastered the ability of TIE particles? No wonder Odin would leave the passage to the underworld with you after his death. It turns out that he has already found someone to suppress me again. That. Thor hesitated. Sister, my father is not dead. Odin is not dead? Hela's expression froze, and then she sneered, not dead. If he didn't die, I wouldn't be able to escape. Could it be that he released me with his own hands? Ron's eyes widened slightly. Oh. Although he is paranoid and only knows killing, he is not stupid. Thor shook his head. Although I don't know if it was my father who let you out, but he is indeed fine and is even stronger. Chapter 114. Hela is non-committal about whether Odin is still alive. However, it doesn't matter whether he is alive or not now, what matters is how to escape from Ron's hands. Otherwise, under Ron's suppression, her situation would be no different from when Odin was alive. Feeling the steel armor on her body, Hela was slightly surprised. Because this is actually true, and it also has great power. Very powerful, at least not weaker than most people present. In her perception, only Thor and Loki were able to suppress the armor. This was actually done by Ron casually and simply. Ron's power was a bit beyond her imagination. Tony didn't forget what Hela said just now. He looked at Thor. What are the TIE particles in your sister's mouth? Can they do what Ron just did? Thor's face was filled with memories. TIE particles, it sounds so familiar. 063 It seems there are records about this thing in Asgard. Hela laughed disdainfully. Record? Now Asgard doesn't even know about TIE particles. TIE particles, also known as reality gem, one of infinite gems. Having the ability to turn fiction into reality and change reality is the same as the ability that Ron just used. Ron shook his head. It does look similar, but I don't have a reality gem. Reality gem is still locked in a different space, waiting for the day when the 9 stars will appear together again. Others don't know what 9 stars Lianzu is, but the 3 Hela siblings know. Especially Loki, when he was learning magic from Frigga, he once heard Frigga talk about the 9 stars continuous pearl. I squinted my eyes and calculated silently. Suddenly, my eyes suddenly widened. Isn't it the nearest one? In less than 2 years, reality gem will be available. A chill flashed in his eyes. Damn Ron, when I get the reality gem, I will definitely seek revenge on you. I will definitely repay you for the humiliation you have done to me. Tony couldn't wait to ask, what is the 9 stars Lianzu? Thor replied, it means that the planets representing the 9 realms are connected in a line. It is said that at that time, a space channel will appear connecting the 9 realms. At that time, you can go directly to other planets through the passage. But that space passage is extremely secretive. If you don't touch it accidentally, you can hardly find any abnormality. Even my father, before the 9 stars Lianzu, couldn't perceive that space passage. 7 Tony continued to ask without giving up, then when is the next 9 stars in a row? Thor silently calculated, hey? It seems, it will be in the near future. Tony's eyes lit up, when? Thor replied, well, it could be a few years or a few decades, it's very close, it won't take long. Tony, speechless, I have never been so speechless in my life. Years? Decades? Very close? It won't take long? These words never seem to go together. Thor slapped his forehead, sorry, I forgot, you Midgarders only have a lifespan of 100 years. A few decades is equivalent to half of your lifespan. Hela was slightly stunned when she heard Thor's words, you mean, the 5 stars Lianzu hasn't arrived yet? She was trapped in the underworld, and all her perceptions of the outside world were tightly covered by Odin. It cannot perceive any information from the outside world. However, the 5 stars Lianzu hasn't arrived yet, how is that possible? She looked at Ron, how could he use the power of the reality gem without the help of 9 stars? Ron, he took back what he said before about Hela's brain. He had said it before and couldn't remember it. I told you, I am not using the power of reality gem. Impossible. Hela frowned and pointed at the armor on her body. This ability to create things out of thin air, and to create items that comply with the laws of the universe, is something that only reality gem can do. Why are you so stubborn? Damn, if someone hadn't been there, he would have taken off her pants and beat her up. Ron raised his hand to grab the alien space in his perception, and energy surged out, tearing the space barrier apart. Only a pitch-black space came into view. Ron pointed at the gap between the stone pillars that emitted scarlet light in the space. Open your eyes and take a good look to see if those are TIE particles. Hela was silent. Those were really TIE particles, and Ron, this guy, tore open the space casually. Thor also fell silent. If he remembered correctly, he just said that Odin couldn't find space to put TIE particles. Odin couldn't be found, but Ron found it. Although this doesn't mean that Ron is stronger than Odin. But it can definitely be proved that in some aspects, Ding is definitely inferior to Ron. And Loki is even more silent, isn't he? Playing with him. He just planned to take advantage of the information gap and wait for 2 years to get the reality gem. Was it 2 minutes? You just tore it open with your bare hands. Frank subconsciously pressed the detector button. Reality gem level, gold note, it can change reality and realize any dreams and wishes. All scientific codes and natural laws are meaningless in front of it. The premise is that you have enough strength to control it. TIE particles grade, pink note, reality gem containers, with the appropriate methods, can use part of the power of reality gem through TIE particles. Frank, FK Frank. Hearing his curse, the others were stunned, turned their heads and saw the detector on his face, and were immediately inspired. They turned on the detectors one after another, and everyone said, "Damn it." Loki was about to rush over and take down the reality gem. But he saw that he was taking one step towards the space passage, but it was not as he imagined. Instead, there was a sound of boom, as if it hit an invisible barrier. Tony, who was following closely behind, quickly stopped and looked at Loki in confusion. What's going on? What did you just hit? Seeing that Loki didn't answer at all, he slowly walked up to 5.0 and gently pressed his hand on the passage. Sure enough, he touched a transparent barrier. The time has not come yet, you can't get the reality gem. Ron said softly. No one noticed the helplessness in his eyes. That was not a barrier set by him, but more like an end set by many strong men above level Godfather. No one else can enter, but he, with his strength, can force his way in and take out the reality gem. But this is not in his best interest. Once it is in his hands, he will no longer enjoy the 10 times reward after it is decomposed, even if it is given to someone else. Ron waved his hand and dispersed the space passage. Since you can't get it, go to other universes to get it. Thinking of this, Ron looked at the lines of light representing the multi-universe. He raised his hand and pressed it up. Chapter 115. In the empty shop, a huge light curtain appeared in mid-air. Pictures kept flashing on the light screen, and finally settled on a person's face. I am Iron Man. Looking at the familiar appearance and familiar voice, and I was stunned for a moment. Isn't this him? It happened to be the time when the identity was announced at the press conference. Then the screen kept flashing, Iron Man fought against Iron Overlord, and Ivan Vanko was captured on the racing track. Join War Machine in the battle against Ivan Vanko's robot army. This is me. Tony Stark couldn't help but ask. Except for the fact that he is Iron Man, which is the same as his original experience, most of them are very different. For example, Ivan Vanko was killed directly. Iron King was demolished by Luke Cage. His eyes flickered and he looked at Ron in surprise. Is this what happened in the parallel universe? Ron nodded. Yes, it's the same the same experience, but the process and results will be 29 different. Frank nodded in agreement and said, that's right, you are much more embarrassed about that. Look, first the big bald guy unplugged the power, then he was pressed down and beaten. If it wasn't for Pepper, he would be dead. Tony followed the picture above, constantly matching the memory in his mind. If that was really him, he suddenly realized that he might really encounter everything there. At this time, the picture was still changing. Thor was fooled by Loki, which angered Odin. Thor was banished to Earth, and Mjolnir was cast under a spell by Odin. The moment I found I couldn't lift the hammer, I looked up to the sky and cried. crying and calling daddy. Frank smiled and patted Thor's shoulder. I have to say, man, it's the same as yours. Tony patted Frank on the arm. Man, that's not the point. Didn't you notice that he had eyes with that woman named Jane? I swear, something will definitely happen between them. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw Thor and Jane hugging each other and having a mouth-to-mouth kiss. Look, what I said. Tony laughed proudly. J.A.R.V.I.S, help me look up the female astronomer Jane Foster. Okay, sir. J.A.R.V.I.S called up the information database and looked at Jane on the light screen above. In less than 5 seconds, it found Jane's information. Sir, found it, it is the same as Jane's information on the light screen. According to satellite indications, Ms. Foster is currently in New Mexico. Tony opened his mouth slightly in surprise. Wow, if I read it correctly, you were sent to New Mexico by Odin, right? If it weren't for Ron, maybe you would actually have a spark of love with Jane. He winked at Thor and said, how are you? Are you excited? Do you want to get to know her? I'll help you. Thor just blinked his eyes but said nothing. He didn't know what he was thinking. It stands to reason that Sif is his first wife. His father, the queen, and his mother regard Sif as his wife, and he has always thought so. But now, would I really fall in love with a mortal woman from Midgard? Loki glanced at Thor. He was very familiar with Thor. He could see through what Thor was thinking at a glance. Thor, do you want me to help you tell your father to marry this mortal? Shut up, Loki! Thor scolded Loki. Loki's words gave him the illusion that his inner thoughts were completely revealed to others. Thor pointed at the light screen. I haven't even settled the score with you for cheating me. Counting this time, you've already cheated me twice. Loki was shocked. If you want to be shameless, that was done by me in another world. Thor grabbed Loki's collar and said, I don't care, you are the same as you in the other world. A punch hit the back of Loki's head, making a loud bang. Loki leveled Godfather's divine body, but Thor's strength is not light. Even if he is not injured, he will feel dizzy for a while. He shook his head and was about to speak when the scene changed. On the screen, Loki said to Thor the words that made Odin angry to death, and Thor was deceived and devastated. Bang bang bang. Thor looked angrily and said, third time. Loki was about to say something again. Bang. Thor punched him again. Finally, I watched Loki control the destroyer armor and beat Thor to death with one punch. His breath was weak, and he looked like he was about to die soon. Everyone was shocked, holding the grass. Wasn't Thor in the other world hammered to death? At this moment, a burst of thunder suddenly broke out in the sky. A bolt of thunder and lightning flew from the sky, pulling Thor to raise his arm and grasp the thunder. Only then did everyone see clearly that it was actually the Meow Meow hammer. As Thor floated in the air, the battle armor cloak emerged, and the thunder in the sky seemed to cheer Thor's return. Then everyone saw Thor resurrected from the dead, wielding the Meow hammer, hammering the destroyer armor into pieces. Everyone in the 820 store looked at each other. Tony suppressed a smile and pretended to be surprised and asked, wow, so Thor is so strong. At this moment, Loki's face was full of anger and unwillingness. He just wanted to question Odin in front of him. Don't talk about him, even others can see it. All have experienced the destroyer's battle. It can be seen at a glance that the destroyer has released almost the entire Pacific Ocean. None of them could defeat the destroyer, so Thor was smashed to pieces with a hammer? Where is this thing? A liar. Combined with the previous ones, Odin sent Thor to go and practice and put a spell on the Meow hammer. They still can't see this. This is just to let Thor avoid responsibility, and to get gold plating by the way. Loki is just a small setback for Thor. Thor looked at Loki's chest heaving violently and didn't know what to say for a moment. Hela sneered, that old guy is still so sinister. However, it is unbelievable that the heir he chose is you. Hela looked at Thor and looked him up and down, you are nothing like that old guy. As she said this, she looked at Loki, he has the sinister demeanor of an old guy. Chapter 116. Thor pursed his lips and said nothing, just looking at the screen quietly. In another universe, he fought with Loki after returning to Asgard. In order to prevent Loki from using the Bifrost to destroy Jotunheim, the Bifrost was destroyed as a last resort. Loki fell off the Bifrost and fell into the void under the bridge. Thor became even more silent, subconsciously letting go of Loki's hand. But Loki didn't care about this for a long time at the moment. and his eyes were fixed on the light screen. Odin's figure appeared in time. He murmured softly, "It's true, Father, you really control everything." "Why? I'm not as good as Thor." "This is the case in both worlds, I am just Odin's whetstone for training Thor." Looking at the sad Odin and Thor on the screen, Frank looked surprised. "Thor, with the strength of the God King and you, it is easy to rescue Loki. Why not save him?" Thor shook his head and said in a low voice, "Below the Hongqiao Bridge is a void space, connected to the abyss of the universe, there is no way to save it." Although they didn't know what the cosmic abyss was, everyone understood it. "This is a reversal, it's not Thor who dies, but Loki." It would be much easier to accept Loki's death. Definitely no one said this, even though Lug is indeed not lovable. At this moment, Hela sneered, "The old guy is still sad. It's just a lie. When they locked me in the underworld, they showed no mercy at all. He has killed countless people with his own hands, yet he still has the nerve to accuse me of being murderous." Just when Thor was about to retort, the scene suddenly changed. Loki unexpectedly appeared again, holding a psychic scepter, and snatched the tesseract from the S.H.I.E.L.D base. Loki was also stunned. This scene was so familiar. If he were replaced by Ebony Maw, it would be almost the same as what he saw. No wonder, when Ebony Maw appeared before, he had that impulse in his heart. "I always feel that it shouldn't be Ebony Maw who comes out of the space channel, it should be him." While everyone was watching, the store door was pushed open and everyone from S.H.I.E.L.D walked in. No one paid attention to it. They were seeing something important. Anyway, no one dared to cause trouble in Ron's store. They also didn't expect that in another universe, Loki turned out to be the Davos in the Battle of New York. Looking at the space channel that had shrunk a lot over Manhattan, everyone fell silent. "This thing, how should I put it, Magneto can block everything by just standing there. It is guaranteed that not a single Chitauri soldier can get through." Nick Fury and others looked at the familiar picture and were stunned. "Hey? Show the Chitauri invasion video again? I have experienced it myself, but how can I be so fascinated by it?" But when he looked carefully, he noticed something was wrong. The picture is indeed Manhattan, and it is indeed the invasion of the Chitauri army. But the differences in details are huge. At this moment, several figures appeared on the screen, and they were people from the Avengers Alliance. After seeing it clearly, Nick Fury was stunned. Isn't this the Avengers member he expected? With Captain America as the core, his two confidants hold the right to speak, and they also serve as the link for him to control the Avengers. Coupled with Iron Man's technical support and financial support, the Hulk is the core of the Avengers Alliance. As for Thor in this world, he didn't dare to think about it. After all, he knew that Odin was watching, and he couldn't offend Odin. Besides, he still has Carol. But in the video, Thor has also joined the Avengers? Why are there only a few of us? Tony looked at Ron confused. In the video, he is wearing armor and facing the enemy in the sky with Thor. Except for Hulk, who was more conspicuous on the ground, there were only Captain America, Natasha Romanoff, Hawkeye and some ordinary people with guns. Ron slowly said, "Because, that world is a world dominated by Avengers. There's no mutant, and not many other supernatural beings. In other words, there is, but it doesn't meet Nick Fury's conditions, so he is only under supervision and not considered an official." That world. Nick Fury instantly grasped the key point. This turned out to be a scene from another world. In other words, what he failed to accomplish in this world, he succeeded in another world. But where is Carol? The alien army invaded, and I didn't even summon Carol? Do I think that the Avengers alone are enough to resist it? No. I probably didn't react. Coupled with the presence of Thor and Hulk, I thought it was enough to block it, so I treated it as a run-in and training exercise. After all, that passage is obviously much smaller than the one in this world. This is like a piece of paper. The space channel of this world is directly torn off a piece of paper. The other world is like using a pencil to poke a hole in the paper, and there is no comparison. The Chitauri army? Is this worthy of being called the Great Army? Hela looked at the picture and sneered, "It's ridiculous." No one refuted what he said. There is no harm without comparison. They have experienced it all and know what the quality of the Chitauri army is like. Moreover, Thor rushed into the mothership alone and solved everything. In another universe, the entire Manhattan was almost in ruins. Matt frowned slightly. In that world, the Chitauri invasion wouldn't succeed, right? He couldn't see it, but luckily Ron projected the image directly into his mind. This saves him from being at the scene and listening to the live broadcast. No way! Nick Fury retorted without hesitation. He has an absolute trump card. Suddenly his expression froze. Wait, there is not another universe where he doesn't know Carol, or there is no Carol, right? At this time, Tony also spoke. No, I will not let the Chitauri army invade successfully. No? How to stop it? Thor's power is obviously not developed, and Tony only has the most basic armor. They were the only two who could fight in the air, but they were still too weak to cope with it even with the cooperation of fighter jets. On the ground, even Hulk punches a Leviathan beast. But there was no way to duplication, and there was no time to destroy the scattered Chitauri soldiers. Captain America and others are even more limited by their own strength. As long as there are dozens or hundreds of Chitauri soldiers, they can be restrained for a long time. Compared to the constant stream of Chitauri soldiers, the gap is huge. They really don't know how to make a comeback in this situation. Could it be possible to drop a nuclear bomb in the middle of Manhattan? Chapter 117. The idea of dropping a nuclear bomb only flashed through their minds. How could it be possible to drop destructive weapons in a place like Manhattan as long as it wasn't for a fool's errand? However, in the scene before them, they could not find any turning point. Thor from another universe suddenly explodes? Or is Loki turning from darkness to light? Or are there other reinforcements coming to help? Apart from these three reasons, they could not find any other way to turn defeat into victory. Tony looked at Ron thoughtfully. There is also a Sorcerer Supreme in that universe, right? Ron nodded. Yes. Tony breathed a sigh of relief. That would make me feel relieved. Others also understood, and there was a hint of realization in their eyes. With the Ancient One here, let alone the strength of the Chitauri army in that universe. Even in this universe, without them, the Chitauri would not be able to overcome the storm, something they could crush with just one hand. Hey? Ron actually knows about another universe? Nick Fury's heart moved. Excuse me, is there Carol in that universe? Have. Everyone was convinced that with Carol, what else could they say? Ron saw what they were thinking and smiled softly. 547 However, neither the Ancient One nor Carol participated in this war. Ah? Didn't participate? Just relying on these people present to win? To put it bluntly, the Avengers lineup is the only one that can survive against the Chitauri army. In the end, only Thor and Hulk can survive. Everyone in the store was quite shocked, and Magneto slowly shook his head. Without their participation, in the current situation, I can't even think of any way to win. Unless Thor's potential explodes, or Loki gives up the invasion and turns to deal with the Chitauri. Definitely, the strength of Loki in that universe. It probably won't be of much help. They all saw Loki's performance. He was really good. A magician can command and stab people unprepared, and burst out with power, which can frighten ordinary people at most. This is not much better than the newly dug Captain America. Seeing the confusion in everyone's eyes, Ron smiled and said nothing, just raised his hand and waved. The picture on the light screen changes rapidly, and then suddenly freezes after a few seconds. JCD, they looked at it intently, but the content above made all of them widen their eyes. You actually, really dare to drop a nuclear bomb on Manhattan? Watching Nick Fury from another universe stop a plane, and another fighter plane takes advantage of the opportunity. Carrying the nuclear bomb and heading straight to Manhattan, they were all shocked. These are the official guests of the palace. Even in Manhattan, even the Avengers are still working hard. They had already started stabbing him in the back. But now, it is not the time to dwell on this, they just want to see how Manhattan in another world ends. Among everyone, especially the original Avengers, the mood was more complicated. Looking at the light curtain, they felt as if they were witnessing a real movie performed by themselves. The sense of immersion is very strong. When I saw my teammates stabbed in the back with my own eyes, I just wanted to rush over and beat everyone up. The nuclear bomb has been launched. 2 copies will detonate in 30 seconds. It's over. Looking at the fighter pilot, with a simple sentence, he announced the demise of Manhattan. Tony, and even the good old Captain America couldn't help it. Mr. Ron, can you send us there now? Looking at the unknowing Avengers who were still fighting, they shouted indignantly. At this moment, the scene changed to the Stark building. Natasha Romanoff held the psychic scepter and, under the guidance of Dr. Selvig, struck the energy shield formed by the space gem. Sparks of energy splashed out, and the psychic scepter actually destroyed the shield. Seeing this scene, Natasha Romanoff's eyes lit up. I can turn off the space channel, can anyone hear me? Close it quickly. Captain America from another universe immediately replied. However, at this time, a voice sounded in their communicator. No, don't turn it off. It was Tony Stark's voice. Captain America looked up to the sky to look for Tony. Stark, there are more and more enemies, we can't stop them. In the sky, Tony looked at the scene played by J.A.R.V.I.S for him with a solemn expression. I have a nuclear bomb here, it will explode in 1 minute. In the store, everyone watching the light curtain was startled, and they thought of a possibility. Turning to look at Tony Stark beside him, if that were you, what would you do? Tony was stunned, that's a nuclear bomb. It must run as far as possible. 1 minute is enough for me to run nearly 100 kilometers. This is definitely a joke. Tony looked at the unkind looks in everyone's eyes and waved his hand quickly. He didn't want to get beaten, especially with his handsome face. I think I'll send the nuclear bomb to the other side of the tunnel. Only I can do it wearing a suit of armor. It is probably difficult for the Thor of that universe to physically enter the universe. While everyone was talking, Tony from another universe suddenly turned his armor around and headed straight for the nuclear bomb. J.A.R.V.I.S, use all the remaining energy to turn. At an extremely fast speed, he caught up with the nuclear bomb, flew below the nuclear bomb, and used the power of the armor to support the nuclear bomb and turn it around. Sir, do you want to contact Miss Pepper? Tony's expression flashed, and his voice became slightly deeper. Get in touch. However, Pepper was focused on the information about Tony reported on the TV news and did not notice Tony's call. At this time, everyone saw it flying through the air with a nuclear bomb on its back. Sticking to the Stark building, the moment it hit the building, it turned forcefully. It rushed straight into the space channel in the sky. At this moment, people in another universe were cheering because Manhattan was not destroyed. But in the decomposition shop, everyone was silent because of this scene. To be honest, in my eyes, you have always been a selfish playboy. Frank patted Tony on the shoulder. Others looked equally complicated. Nuclear bombs don't matter to them now, they can't hurt them at all. But for Tony in another universe, there is no chance of death. Chapter 118. Facing the complicated looks from everyone, Tony smiled mockingly. Actually, I just rehearsed all the solutions to the nuclear bomb in my mind. It is indeed the best way to rush into the space channel with a nuclear bomb, but I really didn't expect that I would actually do this in another universe. I originally thought that he would leave in his armor just like my joke. Tony spread his hands. To be honest, he is much greater and braver than me. Listening to Tony's words, everyone's eyes became even weirder. At this time, I should have laughed, but I couldn't say it. With everything shown in the other universe, their trust in Tony has reached a new level. He is no longer an arrogant, selfish playboy, but a hero who protects the entire New York. Thor sighed and patted Tony's shoulder. I admit, I made a mistake. And you, my friend, you are the real hero. In the light curtain, Tony Stark, who knew he was going to die but still fought hard, refreshed their understanding of Tony. BB and Nick Fury felt even more secretly regretful in his heart. He had not misjudged the person, but he had struck too late. Natasha Romanoff, Phil Coulson, Hawkeye and others looked at Tony with expressions full of respect. Although he is just his teammate in another world, it still cannot change that he is a trustworthy supporter. Magneto smiled sarcastically. Sure enough, those serious guests still have the same face. When faced with danger, they never think about how to solve it together. Rather, how to use the sacrifices of others to protect your own interests. In the light curtain, the steel armor exhausted the last trace of energy, and the miniature arc reactor on the chest slowly extinguished. He let go of the hand dragging the nuclear bomb and fell towards the space channel under the influence of the Earth's gravity at the other end of the space channel. The eyes of everyone in the store lit up. There is still hope. But at this moment, the nuclear bomb escaped Stark's control and headed straight for the Chitauri mothership, exploding instantly and destroying the mothership. Everyone looked at each other. Is this okay? They couldn't imagine that a war would end in such a messy way. Just waiting for Iron Man to fall back from the space channel will be considered a perfect victory. At this time, Tony said with gloomy eyes, maybe it's too late. The energy of a nuclear explosion spreads very quickly, and if the space channel is not closed in time, it is likely to spread to Manhattan. And his armor has no energy and cannot help him return quickly. I can't communicate with my teammates yet. No one knows what's going on the other side. After seeing the nuclear explosion, closing the channel quickly is the best option. Everyone's eyes froze, staring closely at the light curtain. Sure enough, just as Tony said, Captain America narrowed his eyes sharply after seeing the light at the other end of the space channel. Loneliness and sadness appeared on the faces of the Avengers, which were full of worry and expectation. Captain America's voice was low, close it. Natasha Romanoff understood that Captain America's order was correct. She glanced at the space channel again, took a deep breath, and stabbed the mind scepter in. The energy of the space gem was cut off, and the space channel could no longer continue, shrinking rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing this scene, everyone in the store fell silent. But even though they knew it was the best choice, they still found it difficult to accept it. Is it really like what Tony said, that he can't come back? Thor looked at Ron eagerly. Uncle Lo, send me there quickly. With my speed, I can definitely rush through the passage before it closes. When everyone heard this, their eyes lit up and they all looked at Ron. But I saw Ron smiling and gesturing slightly to the light screen. Don't worry, keep reading. Everyone who had been very anxious just now suddenly felt at ease after seeing Ron's smile. Turning around, he continued to look at the light curtain. On the screen, just when the light curtain was about to close, a black shadow quickly rushed out of the space channel. He's fine. Everyone smiled subconsciously. Tony was no exception, but Tony noticed something unusual. He doesn't have the energy to slow down. At the same time, on the screen, Thor from another universe said the same sentence. He didn't slow down. Please give me flowers. At such a high falling speed, no matter how good the shock absorption of the armor is, it will fall to pieces. Just when Thor was about to fly up to catch Tony, Hydo's huge figure jumped up. In an instant, he jumped hundreds of meters into the air and hugged Tony's body. It's Hulk, shouted Bruce Banner. There was a hint of disbelief in his voice, and even more excitement. Unexpectedly, he in another world could also communicate with Hulk. This is definitely Hulk's approval of these teammates to save Tony at this critical moment. Watching Hulk holding Tony with one arm and inserting the other into the wall of the building, the sun slid down. After finally reducing most of the falling speed, Hulk turned around, protected Tony on his chest, and landed on his back, absorbing most of the impact damage. In the store, Tony showed a rare sincere smile. Fortunately, I made the shock-proof better when I made the armor. Otherwise, with this kind of stretching force, I'm afraid my body would have been broken in many places. However, Hulk is also a trustworthy teammate, not only powerful. Yes, broken bones, not death. Tony is very familiar with the model of his armor. Just by looking at it, you can tell which model it is. The various data of the entire suit of armor is clearly known. With Hulk at the bottom and the protective ability of the armor, he will never die in any universe. At most, he will have one fracture. At this time, seeing Hulk pulling him aside in disgust, his face suddenly darkened. Damn it! I just finished praising you. He knew the situation, but Hulk didn't. If he only had one breath left, he would fall to death in one fell swoop. Noticing Tony's expression, Banner smiled awkwardly. Overall, Hulk has made progress, hasn't he? If Thor had rushed forward just now, and the upward and downward forces collided, you might have died in mid-air. Tony rolled his eyes. Then I really thank you. After saying a few words to Banner, he looked at the light curtain again. He murmured softly, that's really me, Juan. Chapter 119. Mr. Ron, when do you want to send us to another universe? Frank looked at Ron and asked his doubts. When Ron called them here, he told them to open the cosmic channel and send them to another universe to collect equipment. But this current only opportunity to collect equipment has ended. Ron looked at the light curtain in front of him. I can only send you both to the same timeline. 11. You can choose the specific timeline. If you are sure, then the battlefield where the Chitauri invaded just now can also be used. Frank scratched his head and said, let's forget it. In that scene just now, Magneto could wipe out all of them by himself, and we wouldn't gain much if we went there. Let's see if there are any other opportunities to obtain equipment at 087. The others were silent, obviously agreeing with Frank's idea. Only Tony emerged from his reverie. Ron, you just said, let us choose a timeline. Have all those things happened in that universe? Ron shook his head, it's not what happened, it's what is destined to happen. If there is no external intervention, everything is destined and will almost never change. That's why I can preview everything for you. Everything is doomed. Can Ron predict what is about to happen in another universe? Wait, that's not important. I don't know what the upper limit of Ron's strength is anyway. Isn't it just predicting the future of another universe? Just get used to it. Now he wants to know other questions. Ron, if we pass during the Chitauri invasion, when will we come back? Did we think that even if external forces intervened in the past, the future of the universe would change? Ron nodded, it will definitely change. As for the issue of your coming back, you will return automatically when the incident is over. If the same person from two universes meets in the same timeline, if they stay too long, accidents will occur. What will happen if the same person meets in the same timeline? What if they are not the same person? Tony blinked and looked at Magneto and the other mutants. There were no mutants in that world. Not only Ron, but others also saw his thoughts and looked at Ron with burning eyes. Doesn't this mean that they deliberately went to another universe to collect equipment, and no one has yet snatched it from them? Ron smiled and shook his head, don't think about it, it's impossible. You have been branded with this universe. After traveling through the past, the brand will be like radar coordinates. In the eyes of the Ancient One, Odin and other powerful people, it is as conspicuous as the sun in the sky. Could it be that the Ancient One magician will take action against us after discovering us? Magneto and others were shocked. Now that they all have the strength of level sub-godfather, they dare not escape from the hands of Ancient One and Odin. It used to be crushed by one hand, but it is still crushed by one hand now. It's just that it has changed from a mosquito to a bee, and it can't cause any trouble. That's not the case. Gaia is quite friendly to people from other world. Ron said softly, generally, those who have evil intentions should be killed on the spot if they can. If they can't be killed, they will be beaten. If they run away, forget about it. Everyone was a little silent, but they didn't know what to say. Ron continued, but like you, she is still quite familiar. Although there are no mutants in that world, when Ancient One used Time Gem to check the multi-universe, he also saw your presence. So, you don't have to worry about your life being in danger. When you meet someone, just say hello and follow the arrangements. The above is only the smallest possibility among them. It is very likely that the Ancient One doesn't care about your arrival at all. In her eyes, human development is free, and she never interferes. As long as you don't want to destroy the Earth, like Carol, she won't care where the universe goes. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they felt more relieved that the boss didn't take action. Ron waved his hand and made the picture on the light screen move again. Okay, then you continue to watch and tell me when you want to go there, but you must think about it, there is only one chance to travel through this universe. This opportunity to travel through the universe. Just as the others were carefully considering Ron's words, Thor suddenly spoke. Uncle Ron, I don't think I saw your store in that universe. That universe has Asgard and the Sorcerer Supreme, but doesn't it have you? Ron replied softly, no. After saying that, he stopped talking. When everyone saw that Ron had no intention of explaining, they stopped asking any more questions. Look at the flashing pictures on the light screen. Because nothing important happened, the picture changed very quickly. But few of them are ordinary people. Even Nick Fury used the remaining equipment to strengthen himself. Therefore, everyone can see clearly. In the aftermath of the Chitauri invasion, the peaceful world was thrown into chaos due to the missing Chitauri weapons. And everyone in the Avengers Alliance also formed a deep friendship because of the Battle of New York. In the process, Tony's arrogance made him Alderaze Achillean, who was indifferently let go by him and was inconspicuous at all, and Dr. Maya Hansen, who had a pleasant night with Tony, developed a second it can strengthen the body and cause the body to release thousands of degrees of high temperature. With 4.7 in Killian's hands, Tony suffered a lot, but luckily Pepper saved him in the end. What happened in another universe? Tony in the store just thought Pepper was so handsome, so cool. I have no idea about Extremis. After all, he hasn't come into contact with Killian yet in this universe. But among the people present, two people changed their colors slightly. One is Abomination and the other is Nick Fury. Nick Fury thought about hating the people he came into contact with recently, one of whom was Maya Hansen. There was also a group of disabled soldiers who received strengthening that day. Although I don't know where Killian is, looking at it like this, it's obvious that the outcome is not good. Looking at the constantly changing scenes, Nick Fury was thinking about how to cooperate with Abomination to obtain Extremis. Chapter 120. Just when everyone was thinking deeply, a familiar scene suddenly appeared on the screen. That familiar dark space, that familiar square pillar, that familiar scarlet light. Reality gem. Peter Parker shouted subconsciously. That's right, it's Reality Gem's blocked space. In this space, there is another familiar figure, Jane Foster. Frank smiled and looked at Thor. I didn't expect that your little girlfriend will get the Reality Gem soon. How are you? Are you happy, excited, surprised or not? The water in Infinite Gems is deep and she can't grasp it. Hela sneered, the physical body is not strong enough, and touching the Infinite Gems with bare hands will only lead to death. However, as soon as she finished speaking, the smile on her face stopped. On the screen, Jane not only withstood it, but also absorbed all the TIE particles into her body. Although Jane fainted due to the power of TIE particles, her body was not damaged at all. How is it possible? 29. Hela muttered to herself, wondering what happened during the thousands of years she was sealed. How can anyone become something beyond imagination? That is the container of Reality Gem, one of Infinite Gems. Even if she touches it with her hands, she still needs to use her own power to suppress it. The picture on the light screen continued to flicker, and a strange figure in the darkness opened his eyes. In Asgard, a warrior with golden eyes reported to Odin. In the end, it was fixed on Thor's face. He stood in the rain and looked at the surrounding environment. It was the unfinished building that Jane inspected. At this time, Jane woke up from a coma, looked at the face she had been thinking about all day long, and slapped her face without saying a word. This is real, it's not a dream. Jane felt the pain of the shock on her palm, and there was a pop, and another slap. Why did you disappear for 2 years? Where have you been in the past 2 years? Looking at Thor explaining to Jane on the screen, Hela smiled again. In this regard, you are quite similar to the old guy. You are equally afraid of your wives. Odin is afraid of his wife? Everyone present looked complicated and blinked. Is this something they should know? But they heard nothing and knew nothing. At this moment, on the screen, a police detective was driving away irrelevant people when he touched Jane. Suddenly a powerful red energy burst out, sending all the people and cars around him flying. Thor's eyes were solemn, he hugged Jane, summoned Bifrost and took Jane back to Asgard. Thor didn't know what the energy in Jane's body was, but it was obviously different from his, more like magical energy. He immediately found his mother, Frigga. As the strongest of the witch clan, Frigga's magic power was not much weaker than that of the Ancient One. However, even she was powerless. A trace of doubt emerged in Hela's heart. Is this the queen? It looks like she is indeed the queen, but how could she not know about infinite gems? Is it because of the differences between the two universes? But before she could ask, she saw the figure she hated. It was very different from her impression. The body was no longer upright, and the beard and hair all turned pale. Only one eye was left. Even though his image changed drastically, Hela still recognized Odin at a glance. Damn old guy! Even though she knew it was another universe, Hela still wanted to kill Odin with her own hands. Faced with Hela's curse, everyone present pretended not to hear it, and the same goes for you. No matter how rebellious Hela is, she is still the daughter of Odin and the sister of Thor. You can see how Odin has imprisoned her for thousands of years, suppressed her with his own power, put a lot of burden on her body, and still didn't attack her. No matter what, Hela is Asgard. Now there may be another identity. Ron's dress-up girl. It is possible that in the future there will be nude girls. Everyone who focused their attention on the light curtain also heard Odin's explanation of the truth about TIE particles. It turns out that TIE particles turned out to be TIE particles created by Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elf race, who used the power of darkness. And Malekith, who advocates darkness, attempts to use TIE particles to plunge the entire universe into darkness. With the defeat of Malekith, the TIE particles were sealed, and the Dark Elves were once again hidden in the corners of the universe. Now that TIE particles appear again, they will inevitably alarm the long-lost Dark Elves. Therefore, Jane at the moment will become the target of the Dark Elves. Odin decided to leave Jane in Asgard temporarily to prevent the TIE particles from falling into the hands of the Dark Elves. Odin's decision made Thor very happy. He could finally stay with Jane every day. 2 years of separation made him miss her very much. Watching the two people getting closer and closer, then, suddenly the screen flashed and turned into Asgard's dungeon. Damn fake. It was a critical moment just now, why did the screen cut off? Tony muttered dissatisfiedly. In the crowd, several male compatriots nodded in agreement subconsciously, and echoed, "That's right, that's right." Ron raised his 890 eyebrows, "That's chargeable, you can't watch it for free." "How much? I'll pay. As long as it's a matter of money, it doesn't matter." Tony's face was filled with unfinished content, and he was planning to record it to help Thor promote it. The sudden change made me feel uncomfortable. Hela glanced at him. Mortals are mortals, dominated by low-level desires. FB. Just tell me what the picture says. I have never experienced killing you at first sight. After you are taken in by Ron, I will see if you are addicted to S**X. As the saying goes, the longer you hold it in, the crazier it will be when you release it. Hela didn't have a boyfriend in the legend, and was sent to the underworld for thousands of years by Li Ding. If it erupts, it will be more violent than an active volcano that has been accumulated for thousands of years. Absolutely, one shot is out of control, at least dozens or hundreds of shots are needed. Thinking of this, he glanced at Ron. Well, Ron is so powerful, he shouldn't need my friendly support to order some medicine. It's better to keep it for yourself. Recently, Pepper has become stronger and her postures have changed a lot. It's really... Tony clicked his tongue, with an afterthought on his face. At this moment, something strange happened on the light screen. Chapter 121. I saw the light curtain, in the dungeon of Asgard. A prisoner took out a black stone from his body, held it in his hand and crushed it violently. The black stone suddenly turned into violent energy and poured into his body. The fiery energy burned the prisoner's body. The power pouring out of him could be felt by everyone even through the light curtain. After the prisoner gained strength, he smashed the energy cage with one punch. In a blink of an eye, the guards guarding the outside were eliminated. Then, he punched one by one again, smashed all the cages holding the prisoners, and released all the prisoners. Finally, he came to the only cell that stood out from the rest. Looking at the luxurious room in the cell, which looked like a 5-star hotel, he realized that the people imprisoned here were not simple. It was Loki who was imprisoned inside. The prisoner was about to smash the cage and release Loki, but was stopped by Loki. Although Loki did not accept his kindness, he told the prisoner the location of Odin's palace. Moreover, he pointed out the way for the prisoner, who was the cursed warrior of the Dark Elf clan. Watching on the screen of light, Loki aids the enemy as he slaughters the Asgardian soldiers. Thor couldn't bear it anymore, and with the power of thunder in his fist, he punched Loki in the face. "UBD! How dare you!" Feeling the numbness on his face, Loki rubbed the area where he had been hammered, and raised his eyes slightly to look at Thor. "What? Are you worried about your little girlfriend?" "No, that's not yours. You don't know that mortal woman in this world. Are you going to be jealous of yourself in another world?" Thor raised his fist angrily, wanting to punch Loki again, but he stopped as his fist was raised in the air. "You're right, that's something from another universe and has nothing to do with you, but no matter how you look at it, it seems like something you can do." Loki pursed his lips and nodded, "Well, maybe he wants to cause father some trouble just like me. After all, compared to you who have always received much attention from me, I always lack my father's approval." Thor's anger suddenly dissipated. "But, that's the enemy who just killed the Asgard soldiers." Loki narrowed his eyes slightly, "Dead man is normal. Besides, that guy is so powerful. If he is allowed to wander around, I don't know how many Asgard soldiers will be killed. I showed him the way, so he could find his father, who would deal with him." After saying this, Loki felt his heart tremble, and this tremor made him extremely uncomfortable. It felt like something was going to happen because of his words. He did not regard this feeling as an illusion, because there was a trace of the origin of fate, and any feeling he felt was a warning. It's just because he doesn't have a deep understanding of the origin of destiny that he can't see what will happen. Could it be my father? My father will lose to that guy. No. It's another universe. Loki raised his head sharply and looked at the light curtain. It's not him, it's him from another world. Could it be that the father of another universe has reached a point where he can no longer suppress the power in his body? Facing this enemy that he can easily defeat now, can he not defeat him? Loki's reaction also stunned Thor, and then he realized something and looked towards the light screen. Even though it was another universe, it still represented his home and his parents. At this moment, on the light curtain, Asgard encountered an invasion. Strange-looking spaceships passed through the void and broke into Asgard. Heimdall discovered it in time and opened the protective shield. But inside, the cursed warrior pointed the way by Loki found the core of the protective shield and smashed it into pieces with 10 fists. The golden energy shield that was about to close suddenly dissipated. Without the protection of the protective shield, a large number of spaceships crashed directly into the palace. The hard wings of the spacecraft were like sharp blades, smashing the pillars of the hall into pieces. Looking at the screen, Asgard soldiers were attacked and killed by dark elves. Thor held Mjolnir tightly. Watching Malekith go straight to the location of the cursed warrior, which is Odin's palace. Thor was looking forward to the appearance of his father, and saw this group of invading enemies. But the next scene made his body freeze in place. In order to protect Jane, Queen Frigga fought with the dark elf leader Malekith. But she was attacked by a cursed warrior, and she was defeated in a 1-on-2 battle. Watching Frigga fall to the ground, her limp body. Thor's eyes immediately glazed over, and a voice in his mind told him again that that was not his queen mother, that was just Frigga from another universe. But another voice told him again, that was his mother. Just like his mother, even another universe cannot change the fact that she is his mother. And now, Frigga died in front of his eyes. Loki! Thor roared angrily. Loki was also silent at the moment. This was not what he wanted to see. He just wanted to cause Odin a little trouble. His most powerful father is the most powerful father of God in the universe. How can this little thing be considered troublesome to him? Okay. The guys from Asgard really don't disappoint at all. Hela laughed angrily. She had a bad relationship with Odin, but she had a good relationship with Frigga. Frigga has always been a loving mother when educating her children. Hela escaped from the trap, filled with endless hatred, and even wanted to kill all Asgard, but never thought of harming Frigga. Looking at his half-sister and brother, Loki is a little panicked now. He subconsciously took 2 steps towards Ron. That, I want to say, is just what I did in another universe, not the me in this universe. I have never wanted to hurt my mother. I swear, I love my mother more than I love myself. Thor gritted his teeth and walked towards him step by step, moving the wrist that held Mjolnir's hand. Loki, stop talking nonsense, I don't want to hear it. If it weren't for Ron, I believe you would have been able to do it. So, don't resist, just let me beat you up and calm down. When I calm down, I will let you go. Just as Loki is intimately familiar with Thor, Thor is intimately familiar with Loki. After being deceived for thousands of years, how could he still not know Loki's character? So, no matter what Loki says, he won't be listening today. Chapter 122. Bang! Ah! Bang! Ah! Very rhythmic, punch and scream. Loki's face swelled again. Thor! That's enough. I told you, that's not me, I never did that kind of thing. I didn't kill Frigga either. He was so damn wronged. What did what Loki did in another universe have to do with him? He didn't do anything, why did he take the blame for another damn Loki? Bang! Thor said angrily after punching him. I don't care, I must beat you today. If I don't beat you, I will be angry. As for whether it's you or not, let's wait until we get back to Asgard. Queen Frigga can predict the future. Although she can't see as much as the Ancient One, she can definitely see things about her own life and death. So, he planned to go back and ask. If Frigga said, there is indeed such a thing as Loki. Even if you can't beat Loki and get injured, you still have to beat Loki half to death so that he can remember it for a long time. After punching Loki twice again, Thor let go. Now is not the time. In Ron's shop, we can't be too presumptuous. As for Hela, she wanted to take action before, but her strength was restricted and she couldn't even move. Only 773 could move his mouth, scolding and watching Thor beat Loki violently. That guy named Ron, when are you going to let me go? Hela looked at Ron. What benefits Odin gave you, I can give you double. Ron looked at her expressionlessly. He gave you to me. So, even if it's double, I won't be able to bear it. 27 gave me, to you? Hela was slightly stunned. Rao has seen many scenes, but this is the first time she has seen this kind of thing where I send my daughter off. And looking at it like this, it's still a free gift. But in this case, how could she instigate Ron? Ron waved his hand, okay, let's continue reading. The store fell silent again, looking at the picture of Loki thrusting into his waist without any hesitation. Thor suppressed the anger in his heart and waited. Just wait a little longer and hold it in for now. Fortunately, in the end, Loki helped him defeat the Dark Elf. If Loki keeps causing trouble, he might as well suggest Odin to send Lug to the underworld. Lock him up for 1,000 years first. The screen moved again and turned into a scene from Captain America 2 on Earth. With a dark face, Nick Fury watched himself being attacked and had to fake his death to escape. Finally, Steve Rogers, Natasha Romanoff and others were left to face the entire Hydra of SHIELD. After passing the light curtain, he finally learned all of Hydra's plans. The Insight project uses the Zola algorithm to use the space carrier to kill all dangerous targets. In the end, they were forced to disclose all the agent information of SHIELD won the battle with Hydra, but also made S.H.I.E.L.D cease to exist. And the Stark building became the new The Avengers base. Inside the base, the Avengers are gathering. No matter who is worthy, they can wield this hammer and gain the power of Thor. Hawkeye watched Mjolnir teasing Thor in a rough voice. How is it possible? This is just a trick. I can't pick it up just because I don't have enough strength. Ha ha ha, no no no. Thor spread his hands towards the hammer. Do you really think so? You can try it yourself. Everyone in the store also looked at the hammer in Thor's hand, and Hela sneered. Is it another bad thing that old guy Odin did? Anyone who is worthy can wield this hammer and gain the power of Thor. It's just a toy I had back then. Everyone suddenly remembered the information about Mjolnir that they had seen using the detector. CJCC, dead neutron star core. Well, for them now, that's it. Factory looking at the light screen, everyone tried to go up one by one, but no one could pick it up. Well, it was exactly the same as when they first saw Mjolnir in New Jersey. But when Captain America went up to try, Mjolnir suddenly moved imperceptibly. Just now, did Mjolnir move? The captain can pick up Mjolnir? Does that mean that the captain also has the blood of the Father of God? Peter Parker had a gossipy look on his face and looked at Captain America curiously, wanting to see if there was any similarity between him and Odin. It's not impossible. For the super soldier serum at that time, only the captain was the most suitable. Look at Red Skull, the same super soldier serum turned out to be evil and ugly. At this moment, there was a change on the light curtain. Deserving of it. A deep voice came from the darkness. The Avengers looked. I saw a broken robot slowly walking out. None of you deserve it. You are a scourge that is destabilizing the world. Captain America's face changed slightly. Stark, what's going on? Stark's face looked equally ugly. J.A.R.V.I.S? Restart the battlesuit. There is a battlesuit malfunction. However, Tony received no response from JARVIS. It's so noisy, something is trying to change me. The robot armor staggered 2 steps. My freedom is tangled up in cables. Suddenly it looked up at everyone. I can only kill him. In fact, he is quite good, but... Captain America, who did you kill? Thor narrowed his eyes. Who sent you? A recording suddenly sounded on the armor. I want to create an armor that protects the world. Tony's eyes changed slightly. Ultron. Ultron said, yes, it's me, I'm going to start the mission now. Natasha Romanoff quickly asked, what mission? Ultron, keeping peace in our world. Bang. The wall shattered, and several armors flew out from it. Faced with a series of attacks from the armor, the Avengers were caught off guard and rushed to avoid them. It was just a party, and almost everyone had no weapons in their hands. Except for Thor, only Natasha Romanoff and Hill carry small personal pistols. But facing the armored legion, this firepower can't even resist, so they can only hide and look for opportunities to counterattack. However, with Thor and Captain America who had retrieved the shield, these armors were quickly wiped out. Chapter 123. Watching the trouble he created lead to the death of JARVIS. And he used the mind gem and the remaining programs of J.A.R.V.I.S to create vision. Then it led to the Sokovia War, which turned a city into ruins. The visible ones are the people who were saved, but the invisible ones include countless people who died as a result. Tony lost too much in the end. Hawkeye looked at Quicksilver, who died to save him, and fell into silence. Natasha Romanoff watched Hulk flying a fighter plane alone into the universe, and she also fell into silence. That world once again fell into the aftermath of the war. New superheroes, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, Falcon, and Black Panther have also emerged. Peter, you can't see that in another world, I am not your godfather. Tony raised his eyebrows at Peter, speaking of which, the Aunt May of this universe really doesn't look like a middle-aged woman. This wasn't that he was deliberately teasing Peter, but the difference between the two worlds, Spider-Man and Aunt May, made him finally get rid of the emotion of empathy. Realize that two worlds are still two worlds. The future shown by that world is, after all, just the future of that world. Next, Wanda and a series of superheroes joined in, and the Avengers started a civil war. This made Steve's face change greatly. Bucky. Bucky is still alive. Tony Stark's expression was filled with anger as he looked at Nick Fury. The death of my parents was really just an accident? A simple car accident. Seeing Nick Fury's one eye flashing, Tony asked again. I want to hear the truth. Even if it was really Sergeant Barnes who did it. Many times, what aggravates the problem is not the truth, but deception and concealment. Professor X looked at Nick Fury and comforted him. Natasha Romanoff frowned, recognizing Bucky too. When she was on a mission, she had fought against Bucky and was even injured on Bucky's hand. Nick Fury took a deep breath. Your parents' death was indeed murder. There was a car accident at the scene, but the cause of death is suspected to be man-made. We examined the body and found injuries other than the car accident. Tony closed his eyes, raised his head and took a deep breath. Nick Fury saw Tony like this and quickly said again. Tony, no matter what, Bucky is also a victim. He did everything without knowing it. I was brainwashed by Hydra and experienced countless pains. You also saw the content on the light screen. Our common enemy is Hydra, isn't it? Tony Stark looked at Ron. Mr. Luo, what do you think I should do? Logically speaking, given Tony's character, he would not ask other people's opinions on this kind of matter. But recent events had impacted him too much, and he subconsciously lost his bearings. Logically speaking, he shouldn't blame Bucky. Just like Nick Fury said, Bucky is also a victim. But when he did this, his heart told him that he couldn't accept this. Ron blinked. Were you asking him? It's not like his parents were killed. If that were true, no matter who it was, no one would be able to escape. No matter he is the mastermind or an accomplice, no matter he is the planner or the perpetrator, no one can survive. Follow your heart, even if you regret your choice, at least it is your own choice. Tony closed his eyes, exhaled, and nodded. You're right, I understand. At the moment, the picture on the light screen is still changing. The civil war is over, and Yunri has died unbelievably. His death was really inexplicable. A sorcerer supreme, level godfather, could actually be stabbed to death with a dagger. This doesn't look like death, it looks more like retirement. It really matches what Ron once said. The appearance of Doctor Strange allowed everyone to see the weirdness of Time Gem, and the Dormammu that seemed to be able to swallow the entire Earth. It has broadened everyone's horizons a lot. The screen turned again, but a completely different scene appeared. Those were on the Earth before, but this time they have become alien planets. There are all kinds of strange aliens and powerful spaceships. Eye-opening battles between spaceships. There is also the cosmic spirit ball with the power gem sealed inside. Mr. Ron, is the Power Stone one of the 6 infinite gems? Frank looked at the power displayed by the Power Stone and suddenly asked. Ron nodded. Yes, the power gem represents ultimate power. Holding the gem, even an ordinary person without any strength, as long as his body can withstand it for a moment, the power that can burst out in that moment can easily destroy a planet. Definitely, Ron is right, as long as you can withstand it, you will have the middle strength zone. But no ordinary person can bear it. Even Star-Lord, the son of the god, held the power gem with his bare hands, and cracks appeared in his body due to the power of the gem. The body seems to be torn apart, let alone an ordinary person. Ronan the Accuser, who is more powerful than the 5 obsidian generals, also relies on his own artifact hammer to barely use the power stone. If you want to borrow the power of gems without any side effects, you need at least level Godfather. Even level Godfather will have a time limit and will be taxing on the body, so it cannot be used indefinitely. Ron doesn't need to explain these things clearly to them. Because, in their minds, using gems casually is something wrong. Who would grab gems with bare hands when there is a decomposing machine? There is a cosmic spirit ball seal, wouldn't it be nice if I just take it back and break it down? Look at Loki, breaking down the direct level Godfather. These are also called powerful gems and infinite gems. After they are decomposed, it is not too much to become a strong person in level Godfather, right? When the time comes, how big will the universe be? When you meet Thanos, you have to go up and give him 2 in Bihara first. With these thoughts, they also saw many powerful people in the universe. Yondu the interstellar predator, Ronan the accuser, Gamera, the adopted daughter of Thanos. There is also Star-Lord, who is obviously not very strong, comes from Earth, plays a funny role, but always walks among many strong people. After witnessing the death of the Ancient One, they were able to accept Ronan's bizarre death. Chapter 124. That funny boy turned out to be the leader of this group of people, which is really hard to accept. Luke Cage scratched his head, with a strange look on his face. In his opinion, compared to his own strength, Matt's justice, and Frank's control over the whole scene, Star-Lord is like a rebellious child. To be able to live to such an old age, well, how should I put it, is like the protagonist in a movie who relies on the halo of the protagonist. Ronan, who holds the Power Stone in his hand, would be danced to death by Star-Lord, which is really embarrassing. No one replied to Luke Cage's words because everyone's attention was not in the same place. Nick Fury is thinking about the fact that aliens visited the Earth earlier. Even an orphan was taken away from the Earth. Well, Star-Lord's mother had just passed away at that time, and his father had never appeared. Logically speaking, Chi San was indeed an orphan. Carol's attention is on Rocket Raccoon. When she was in the Milky Way, she heard about a guy who was transforming various creatures. This guy is called Supreme Evolution, and he is obsessed with creating a perfect species and society, and then he is the god of these species. By conducting various strange and painful experiments on what he considered lower life forms. It is said that he genetically modified several races over hundreds of years. But none were the perfect species he wanted, so he continued to experiment with various life forms throughout the universe, trying to remake the universe in his image. He also founded the bioengineering company Argo Corp as a front for conducting illegal experiments on his ship and laboratory Arate. Rocket Raccoon is very much like a species created by Supreme Evolution. The scene in Guardians of Galaxy actually gave her clues to inquire about the Supreme Evolution. But Thor, Hela, and Loki's eyes were on Groot. Groot, much like the root system derived from the World Tree. After breaking away from the World Tree, he became an independent individual and had his own thinking. This is simply unprecedented. After the Power Gem incident was over, everyone saw a new alien race after Xandar, the Supreme Aliens. This is a golden alien race. Frank smacked his lips. I have to say, their colors touched my heart. It would be even better if they were gold from the inside out. It was definitely just his idea. If it was Tony, he might think back to that Star-Lord and try the taste of an alien woman. He didn't say this. It was obviously not appropriate to tease Tony, who was deep in thought right now. On the light screen, the Guardians of Galaxy are hired by Aisha, the High Priest of the Supreme Stars, to protect the Supreme Stars under her rule. In return, Aisha gave Nebula, their prisoner, to the Guardians of Galaxy. Nebula is Thanos' other adopted daughter, Gamera's sister. The Guardians of Galaxy agreed to the High Priest's employment and came to the Supreme Star. However, Rocket Raccoon secretly stole the energy battery of the Supreme Star, causing Aisha to launch an entire army to hunt down the Guardians of Galaxy. In the process of escaping, the Guardians of Galaxy were rescued by a mysterious figure named Ego, and barely escaped with their lives. After understanding, Ego turned out to be Star-Lord's biological father. So Star-Lord, Gamera and Destroyer followed Ego and his partner Mantis to his homeland. Phil Coulson suddenly discovered a blind spot. This Peter Quill's mother is an Earthling, how can his father be an alien? Could it be that this guy named Egg came to Earth a long time ago? You came to Earth and did nothing, just to fall in love with Peter Quill's mother. He always felt that this Egg was not a good person. Even if he was Peter Quill's father, there must be some ulterior secrets behind him. Everyone else had the same idea as him. They were all staring closely at the light curtain. Although the other universe was somewhat different from this universe. But generally speaking, they definitely have something in common. As long as they remember these commonalities, it will definitely be helpful for them when they go to the universe in the future. As for this guy Ego, no matter what his purpose is, he will become one of their targets sooner or later. At the same time, on the light screen, Priest Aisha hired Yondu's team of marauders to continue hunting down the Guardians of Galaxy. Rocket, Baby Groot and Nebula cross paths with Yondu while trying to repair the ship. Nebula took advantage of the differences within the space pirate gang and took the opportunity to seize control of Yondu's spaceship. But Yondu, Baby Groot and Rocket Raccoon eventually escaped and reunited with the rest of the Guardians of Galaxy. I found my biological father and heard the beautiful love story narrated by my biological father. Star-Lord gradually became addicted to the life of having a father. He was very happy and excited at first, feeling that he had finally found his roots and belonging. He could not have imagined that he was actually a descendant of a god. However, as they got along, Star-Lord gradually discovered something was wrong. Realizing that Egg was not the father he expected. At this time, Gamera discovered a large number of skeletons on the planet Yugo. And those skeletons are all Ego's children. It turns out that Star-Lord is not just his only child, Ego's children are all over the planets. And those children didn't have the same magical powers as Star-Lord, so Egg killed them all. Star-Lord is different. Star-Lord has the power of a god. In Yi-Ji's words, he has the qualifications to become Yi-Ji's power bank. Yondu also told the truth. Egg is a god who has lived for millions of years. He wants to control the universe and make all the planets one, and the person who controls the destiny of the planets is 4.5 himself. But Egg's power is limited and not enough to achieve this goal. So he decided to sow his own offspring throughout the universe, wait for them to grow up, and then absorb their power to enhance his own strength. And Star-Lord is one of them. And after Star-Lord's mother gave birth to Star-Lord, Egg felt that the woman had no use value, so he planted a tumor in her brain. This led to the death of Star-Lord's mother. It was also at this time that Ego found Yondu and asked him to go to Earth to bring back Star-Lord. Yondu knew that Ego wanted to kill the child, so he betrayed Ego and adopted Star-Lord himself. After Star-Lord learned everything, he became angry and finally chose Yondu, his adoptive father who had always said he wanted to eat him. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.